What's up, sports fans? It's your man D back. Speech Mind Sports Talk. All right, check it out, man. Sunday, it's 12 o'clock. Power of the Mind. You guys know what time it is. Scott Brown in the building. First up, Scott Brown said Trump is going for herd immunity. Yeah. You know, it's no telling what Trump is going for these days. I'll just say that. But appreciate you coming through, Scott Brown. But guys, welcome back to the Power of the Mind. I wanted to talk about the fact that we have sports returning. Lewis Sports Network in the building. He says, salute to the Godfather of knowledge, Power of the Mind, D. Jeff. And salute to the chat. Salute to you, bro. Appreciate you. Jackal, what's up with you, fam? What's up? Iceman, what's up? What's up? Trump birthday is today. Wow, my brother's birthday is today. But so with the return of sports, everyone, and I know a lot of people are, excited about sports returning. We got to keep in mind that there's still issues going on around the world. I think that the media would love for us to ignore certain issues that's going on around us worldwide. But at this point in time, this is not something that I feel like as people we can afford to do. We have to, of course, not focus on negative. I'm not saying that, but we have to be aware and pay attention to what's going on around us. What's up to you, Ice Man? Scott Brown said, look at Florida, Arizona, Texas, herd community does not look good. Yeah, it doesn't at all. And you're actually starting to see a lot of, at least a lot of reported increase in coronavirus cases as well as deaths. And if they're talking about opening up the economy when the increase is being reported, I'm not sure how much of a good sign that is, because a lot of people are beginning to become a little too relaxed. If you ask me, it's almost as if they're not taking some of this stuff seriously. Why is that up there? Hold on for a second, guys. I didn't mean to have that up there. All right, so, more serene and peaceful background. But anyhow, so when you think about it, if we having an increase, would that be the time to loosen up economy, start opening things back up, and allowing sporting events, even if you knock down the size of the fan and maintain social distancing? Is this the time to do that? I'm not too sure if it is. As sports fans, I think that we should probably do our best to utilize these sports apps and do what we can from home, and not to, become too loose with this situation. Because here's the thing, no one can say that some of these doctors are correct, and no one can say that they're incorrect. The thing is, they don't know. They don't know. They have arguments within their same community. If there's people that, if we should be wearing these apparatus, if we shouldn't be wearing these apparatus, when we should wear them, we should wear them all the time. They can't even get it straight within their same community. So there's not a lot of knowledge on what we should do. But one thing's for sure, there is an issue. There is a pandemic. There is a crisis worldwide, and we can't be blinded, like totally blinded from what's going on, because we have sports coming back, and sports coming back is huge. I just did a little commentary for Curtis Blades versus Alexander Volkov last night. So, boxing is coming back. NFL is on its way back in the door, and football, international football cranked up. So people are loosening up, but we got to keep in mind that there's still an issue. We still have an issue going on around the world. Jay Blues Boxing in the building. Blues and Boxing, he said, what's good, my people? What's good with you, fam? Weighing 6 feet apart. The next night, they're on top of each other. Yeah. Well, with the athletes competing in the individual sports, I will say this. It's extensive testing. So if you say you get in testing, and for whatever their test read, for whatever their test is supposed to be, you get in testing, you come up negative. Well, if you have two people that's tested negative in the ring together, then if they're tested negative, there's no need for social distancing from each other, right? They need to have social distancing from someone who may have it. You know what I mean? So I guess that's the sense in it. I mean, even with the NBA and soccer and football and whatever else sports return, because they're doing testing like on a daily basis, some multiple times a day. These guys are getting tested, the staff around them and everything. So you got to imagine if they're competing with each other, but everybody around is getting tested, continuously tested, then the idea is at least this group of people do not have the virus, so they can't spread the virus. So that's the idea of it. And, I mean, I get what you're saying, Iceman, but I guess that's the idea that they're going through. Brock in the building. What's good with you, Brock? Jay Blues in Boxing says, why the concerning still wearing masks? Why the cornermen still wearing masks? Hey, listen, ignorance is bliss, bro. And again, it's like they don't know. People are scared. Whether you a hustler or not, people are scared, bro. They don't know, whether to put those masks on or not. We have some of the stores here in Columbus, Ohio. They're requiring you to wear a mask before you come in the store. Like you can't even come in. So like me, I choose not to wear a mask. I'm not, it doesn't bother me. But if I go into Dollar Tree or Dollar General or on Town and Country Shopping Center, they require you to wear a face covering just to come into the store. So people are just afraid, Scott Brown. And fear is something we really shouldn't allow to take over at this point in time, really. Fear is all here. There are different things that present themselves to you in your experience. It's your mind that tells you to be afraid of that or not. Fear is a mind-built thing. It is not natural. It's not something, it's natural. It's a natural reaction or emotion, but you can control the fear. Scott Brown says 80% of COVID-19 cases are spread from indoor super spread events like Trump's rally. What percentage? Yeah, but okay. Here's the thing, Scott Brown. These percentages that you're spitting off is coming from where? This is the thing. See, the CDC, Dr. Fauci, and all of these guys. Now, Scott Brown, I'm not reading bits and pieces. I'm kind of paying attention to a lot of this stuff. Now, Dr. Fauci and the CDC and these reports, so-called reports that we're getting from news outlets, news channels, hospitals even, Dr. Fauci, the CDC, these percentages you're talking about, where are you getting them from? Because the things that I've been looking at, they're at best inconsistent from organization to organization. These numbers are very highly inconsistent. And number two, Scott, we're finding out that they're not actually supporting actual events. Then there are doctors in the medical industry that are coming out and saying that the administrators, the hospital administrators, are being asked and paid to accelerate these numbers of cases, deaths, calls from these cases, and so forth, Scott Brown. Now, this is true. So what I'm saying is, if you take these numbers and you assess Trump or Trump's rally or anything else based on these numbers, then you have to understand that you're assessing this based on inaccurate information. And that's a fact, bro. These assessments that you're given, if you're basing it on these percentages that you're giving to me, you're basing this on inaccurate information because they're not providing us with the accurate information, Scott. Nowhere close. That's something we have to keep in mind. And I don't really get tied up on a lot of those numbers because I'm aware of the fact that they're not providing the general public with the accurate numbers at any level on anything. So we really can't cast judgment. See, the thing is, what they would like for us to do, Scott Brown, is to cast judgment based on these numbers. These numbers are the perception, per se, that they want the public to have. So they want people to be angry. They want people to terrorize. They want people to get mad and fight because I'm sick of this. I'm sick of the racism. I'm sick of the way they doing this with the medical industry. I'm sick of the government. I'm sick of Trump. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of. And they want you to revolt. They want you to be sick of these things. So you got to kind of be leery of the information that you're being you're being fed. I mean, you have to be leery of some of that information that you're being fed because a lot of it is just highly inaccurate. It's not even legitimate. And when you get an industry, and within that same industry, the guys and the ladies that represent that industry are coming out and they're saying different things, that kind of got to make you question the credibility of the information you're getting. And that industry is the medical industry. And you have doctors from the medical industry coming out and they're saying contradictory things. And it has to make you question that. Jay Blues, what's up, fam?
What's up, man?
What's going on with you?
Nah, I just agree with what you're talking about, man. Fucking, like, all these numbers, most of them are falsified, bro. I mean, the numbers that they have aren't even that extravagant. Like, it's 100,000 people at this point. I hadn't looked at it in a long fucking time, bro. Like, it can't be past, what, 120,000?
Right.
Since the shit started, that's fucking nothing. Half of it could be goddamn flu people. I mean, it's rearrange bullshit, man. Rearrange information to, like you said, to push a narrative and shit. Why the fuck are hospitals being paid or being put to push these numbers up?
Right. And this is not like, and again, I said this is all from reported articles, and people can't get mad when I say these things because if you're going to look or listen to an article that reports to you 100,000 people here were found positive with COVID, then why can't I listen to an article from a medical doctor that's telling me that the administrators at certain institutions, at a lot of institutions, are heightening their numbers and they're being pushed to do this? If you're going to listen to that article from a doctor, then why can't I listen to this article from a doctor? Because it's true. So you don't want to hear this truth, but you want to believe this that may not very well be true. It just doesn't make any sense to me. People are so willing to just believe what they hear coming in the media instead of understanding that we need to really question some of these things. And we cannot cast judgment or listen. I don't. When you talk about Donald Trump, when he first took office, what did he do? He attacked the media for fake news, but he didn't not only attack the media for fake news, he proved to you people how they were utilizing suggestive journalism to fool you guys. He proved this. Now, people want to lean on the fake news to bash Trump. It just doesn't make any sense to me. People are so willing to believe the information that they're being fed from the media instead of doing their own research. It's like we can be fans of this boxing and we can look at articles that Hearn and Aram and DeBella and Oscar put out. And as boxing minds, we can look at that and be like, man, that's bullshit.
But even if you don't know
articles, we can read them all, and then we can read between the lines and be like, man, that's bullshit.
But if you don't know, bro.
Right. But then people are reluctant to do that with the media, considering these pandemics and politics. You can still, they're giving you the information. So if you put it all together, if you look at, like we're talking about now, if you look at some of these numbers, they don't even justify themselves. Look at the numbers and look at other reports around these numbers. They don't even justify themselves. And Scott Brown, I'm not coming at you, brother, because a lot of people take this information. They say, well, 80% of this and 90% of this, but where are you getting that information from? The people that's furnishing you that information are intentionally not giving you the correct information. Intentionally. So I can't cast judgment on Trump or anyone else based on those numbers because I'm fully aware that those numbers are not accurate. It's a part of what they're doing to mask and hide what they're doing. If you get what I'm saying.
Dude, ever since this whole bullshit started, and then with the goddamn George Floyd thing, like, it's like some master plan to spread some 28 days later type anger virus and just infect people with anger and rage and shit. The rage. Like, it ain't even that they have to read between the lines. They're getting hit with these rage triggers, and they're just being triggered, and they're not looking any, like, they're not thinking. They're just blanking the fuck out and shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty wild. So hold on right quick. Prime fighting champion. COVID spreads quick. Yeah, that's the word on the street. Cat in the building. What's up with you, Cat? Appreciate you coming through. My man, get this smoke in here. What's up? Get this smoke. Samuel Shaw in the building. What's up, Samuel? Augustine Road. What's up with you, fam? Nick Harmer. Appreciate you coming through. Let me see. Cat says, I have issue in believing that I am ensuing believing that hospitals are paid to push numbers. Hey, man, again, listen, here's the thing. Either you can believe it or not, but I'll tell you like this, Cat. You have doctors of these institutions coming out. Cat, it's all over, sis, and it's not the same doctors. It's all over Facebook, Instagram. But I don't understand why people are so willing to believe doctors when they tell you, hey, here, take this shot, pump this chemical into you, and it's going to make you feel better. People are so willing to believe that when every time these chemicals they're telling you to pump into you, the idea of how they work or the side effects from them changes every freaking 5 years. But people are so willing to run to that doctor and listen to them say, hey, pump these chemicals into you. But then you have another doctor that's telling you, say, hey, hold on for a second. This may not be good for you. And you don't want to listen to them. See, there's a lot of doctors that's telling you, hey, hold on, pump your brakes. this may not be the right thing. And nobody wants to listen to them. Coincidentally, these are the same doctors of Western medicine, the same doctors that you trust. They have never gotten it right. This is why they always argue and put out new articles or new theses or new hypotheses or new theories. And they have to agree amongst the medical industry. So exactly. They always argue.
All I was going to say was there in any level of academia, to go against the norm, to go against the grain that is accepted, is pretty much to be made an outcast. Like in anthropology, to come up with a new species that would go on almost like a conspiracy theory type tangent, to come up with some completely unknown shit, you would be ostracized from your field. Like no matter how pedigrees you had, like you would just be looked at as a fool, and because you went so far out if you didn't agree with the consensus of
and it goes deeper too. Even if you found a way to make it work, whatever you're talking about, cure or medical device or whatever, even if you found a way to make it work and you're still trying to figure out all of the logic behind it, if you don't have it written down and you can't show them and prove to them how to make it work and how they can make it work, it's considered pseudoscience.
Even if you do, you can write.
Don't consider it pseudoscience. It's magic, or even if it works, even if the shit cures, even if it works, it'll be considered pseudoscience because your doctors will not accept it. And this is a fact, bro. I'm not making this up. Do the research. All you have to do is read. They'll consider it pseudoscience and it will not go into the books, even if it's something that could truly cure you. This is how the Western medical industry works. We have to understand these things. I'm not making this up, man. I encourage somebody to go prove me wrong on this because I wish that I was incorrect about it. I really do. It's unfortunate for people, but this is what we have to rely on in this day and time. And that's why we got to use this thing up here in our nugget, man, to sift through all of this, but also to keep the right mindset. Because again, we can't focus on the things that we don't desire. And I don't care what it is. If you don't desire to attract COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever the fuck they want to call it, don't think about that virus coming into your experience. Now, again, we have to be aware of what's going on in our environment. We don't have to focus on the things that we do not desire. Understand that. I'll repeat that for you guys. We have to be aware of what's going on in our environment. We have to be, because things happen. If somebody gets shot right there in front of you, you can't turn this way and act like you didn't just see that motherfucker get shot. Okay? But you don't have to go day after day after day focusing on that guy being shot. You know what you could do? You could go day after day after day focusing on the fact that that bullet did not hit you and you are here living the day and you're grateful and happy for life and can continue on with your experience. And you can focus on that day after day after day. It's your brain. Nobody can determine which of those two you're going to focus on. It was the same event. Someone got shot right in front of your face. You can focus on the thing to be appreciative for, or you can focus on the event that took place, but it is your brain and you're going to determine which you're going to focus on. And that's how it is on everything. So I'm not saying be oblivious to the things that's going on around you or try to act like they don't exist or to ignore them. That's not realistic. What I'm saying is you can pull out of any situation and anything what it is that you desire. And if you focus on that, you devise a plan, you move toward that, you give your energy toward that, that's what will come into your existence. And it doesn't matter what's going on around you. And that's not my word, that's God's word. So look it up if you don't believe me.
Yo, D, Customato said, you are not your body. You are your mind. Your spirit is your mind. Your soul is your mind. The only reason for your body to exist is to carry your brain and to house it and to give it sustenance and help it to grow. Only thing that exists is your brain. Like your body can wither and die, but your mind will always be able to reach back and be revitalized.
Because your mind is a part of God, bro. It's a part of the all-knowing, the infinite knowledge, the source of all. And it will return. I don't believe in purgatory and burning in hell.
You never have an outer mind experience. You have an outer body experience because that's your connection to the spirit realm.
Right. Right. There's never an out of mind experience. Never that. You never even heard of that.
Maybe an inner mind experience. You tap in. I believe there's a straight up river of life. And if you focus long enough and show not just submission, but true intent, like true commitment to the universe, once you show true commitment, you'll be gifted. You'll tap into that river of life and you can pull back from anything, any kind of energy.
Right. Couple of people in the building. Soccer Training Coach stepped in the building. What's good with your fam? Nick Harmer, I don't know if I shouted you out. Toby Barlett. And Iceman says, I talked with a doctor and he told me he's forced to push the number of COVID-19. See, and again, I don't disbelieve that, man. I don't disbelieve that because of the reason. When I hear these doctors coming out saying that, Iceman, or like the doctor that told you, and I'm seeing them on Facebook and all of these different platforms, and they're coming out and they're saying this, it's because I've read articles and journals here and articles and journals there, and the numbers that they're providing. Before I read or heard these doctors say this, the numbers that they were providing me, I thought to myself, I said, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. It's not adding up. Like, it doesn't calculate. So after I'm already feeling that way from the information that's being provided to me, and then you have medical doctors in this field come out and confirm what I was suspecting, then why shouldn't I believe it? Why shouldn't I believe it? Because I was not believing what they were providing to me in the first place. But so many people are willing to believe what they're told instead of actually digging in a little bit. Unbiased or Biased Boxing Talk said something one day on here. You got to question everything from the media. You do. You simply do. You just have to question everything. People keep acting like the U.S. is the only place that have inflated numbers. Right. How can y'all explain what's going on in Brazil? And thank you. Thank you, Samuel Shaw. Exactly. It's being inflated, bro. It's a bigger agenda than the U.S. government. And the U.S. government, for all you people that don't understand this, the U.S. government does not run, own, or operate the medical industry. That I can guarantee you. They're slaves to the medical industry like many other governments around the world. They're puppets. Medical industry is one of these big industries that actually have their hand in on running these governments. And that's a fact. Do your research on it. Don't take my word for it. I'll tell you that right now. Scott Brown said with the increase in testing in Florida, there's an increase in positive rates of tests, which means there are more cases. Right, of course. And then that's another thing. Thank you, Scott Brown, for bringing that up. If they're it's something that people have to understand too about these numbers. If they didn't have enough tests to start out with, they have factories just boom, 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 cranking every day to produce more and more and more tests because, bro, they're going to have to test massive people. So they're producing these things by the shiploads every day. So worldwide, they didn't have enough tests to test people. So if you have this pandemic that we know exists, and you happen to be aware that people have this, but they're not being tested, of course the numbers are going to increase when more tests are available and you can test more people. That's another thing. That's a good comment, Scott Brown. Of course we're going to see a spike in numbers because people haven't been tested. They're sitting there with it already, but they just haven't been tested for it. So they don't know, the medical industry don't know they have it, and you don't know that they have it. But once these tests are available and they can start giving them to people, of course we're going to see a spike in number. That's a very, very valid. I'm glad you brought that up. Did you tell mommy, Kadia? All right. Jay, did you have anything else you want to offer, bro? I'm sorry. I just what's going on. I'm really just letting people up to share a thought anyway, so I didn't want to ignore you though.
No, you good, man. This is the word.
Bro.
This is the word I was trying to look for earlier. Conviction, right?
Right.
With true conviction comes manifestation. It's all dependent upon the depth of your connection to your spirit or the spirit, the Holy Spirit.
Right. Like, yeah, man. Yeah, and that's see, it's a beautiful word. It's a word that you should affirm in your life. You should use it somehow in an affirmation because you have to have conviction, bro. You know, it's like with prayer for the Christians that believe in prayer. They say you pray for whatever it is you need or you desire for God to help you with. You pray and you have no doubt in that. You know that he'll deliver. You know, you act as if you already have that because you know that God will deliver. So you have to move forward with conviction as if it exists, right? And God will answer the prayer. Okay? It's imperative, bro. These things are imperative.
You can't just bullshit your way through it, though. You truly have to be humble, almost submissive, and with true conviction, like show your true intent. Like, what's your true intent? Where's your heart at? Like, you can bullshit your way and hold a straight face to a point, but it's gonna get deeper than that. It's gonna come down to feeling, and the universe or God's gonna go, "Oh, you bullshit," and I'll see you later, and you're gonna feel a little bit weak.
You can fool people. You can deceive people. You can deceive people with actions. You can deceive people with words. But God doesn't respond to words. God responds to the energy you put out. You know the energy you put out? It comes from the thing that he's blessed everyone with, our communication tool, the mind. So you can say what you want. You can do what you want, but you can't change what's going on in here. And that's how you communicate with God. That's the vibrations come from your mind. Okay? This is a vibrational universe. Everything is moving. Everything is moving in this universe. Every freaking thing. This glass that I have my water in, the molecules in the water is moving, and so is the molecules in the glass. Everything is moving. All vibrational based. And you get to the source with the vibrations that come from your mind. So you can lie from your mouth, you can lie from your actions, act like this, I'm doing this, and see this is showing this, but you cannot lie from here. And that's how you communicate with God. So without true conviction, without knowing, like my man Jay Blue said, it's not going to work. You can't fool the Almighty.
What's Bob Marley say? Positive vibration, yeah. I mean, it all comes down. It all comes down to vibration, man. Like higher and lower emotional states are higher and lower frequencies of vibrational sound that is given off, bro. Like whatever hertz, whatever frequency you vibrate at with your intentions, like it's nuts, man. I used to try to explain this shit to people when I was 18, 19, and they'd walk away from me like I was stoned. Or, I mean, it's natural science. It's the laws of fucking nature. Everything breaks down to vibration, man. You ever seen sand on top of a subwoofer? How it changes as the frequency changes? Mm-hmm. Geometrical patterns come and they get more complex and overlaying.
Right. It's no secret that they've shown how certain galaxies and solar systems, how they actually move in a pattern of like water in the ocean, in an exact pattern. How strange is that, bro? You understand? This is whole galaxies and stars, and they move in the same pattern as water in the ocean. How strange is that? The exact same pattern.
Must mean there's a natural pattern to everything, like the flower of life.
That's my exact point.
If you look up the flower of life, it's literally a pattern that can be overlaid in everything. It shows up in flowers. It shows up in nature all over the fucking place, man. And leaves.
It's what makes mathematics so real. Why mathematics makes so much sense. Because it's going to be the same here, there, and nebula 6 and nebula 9, and this dimension and that dimension. The mathematics is always going to work out, right? It's a mathematical universe, right? So anyway, outside of that, but kind of to dig back into what we were talking, what I'm talking about now, is the return of sports, man, could cloud a lot of people on mind or kind of make them lose sight of what we have going on in the world. Smoke says, I lost a sister-in-law. Maybe COVID, maybe not. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of curb versus we will cross that bridge when we get to it. Yeah, I can agree with that. But we have to be careful, Smoke, because what if perceived prevention is actually something that's worsening the cause? See? I say an ounce of prevention is definitely worth it if that prevention is effective. But if it's ineffective and it's actually making the situation worse, then what do you say of that? And that's the problem with this debate that they're having within their own field, within the medical field, about, first and foremost, is about these masks. You know, I mean, here's the science on it, guys, or at least from both sides of the medical field, is that I believe in this totally, that our bodies were meant to fight off, to operate, to work in a certain way. It's because of the things that's been tainted with by man is why our body responds the way it does now. But it was meant to fight off these pathogens, because it has for years. And so a lot of the doctors in the medical field feels like if we keep these masks on our face, and sometimes even when going outside, we're not allowing their good bacteria, their bad bacteria, pathogens, and so forth. Some that help us and some that don't, but some that also helps us build our immune system, because our immune system has to know what to fight off. And if our immune systems don't know what to fight off, then when that comes, it can attack us in a way where we won't be able to defend ourselves. So by putting that mask on and not allowing those bacteria, those natural bacteria that we usually take in every day, it's not allowing our body to operate as it generally operates. And once we take those masks off and things get in, then our immune system is weakened. It's not able to defend the way it was supposed to be able to defend. Now, that's one theory coming from one side, where you have the other side telling you, no, wear the mask for your protection, for everybody else's protection. But understand that this is an argument that's going on within the field of what everybody wants to listen to. They can't even get it right. So how can you tell me as a citizen, you need to wear that mask, when they can't even tell you if you need to wear the mask or not? And this is what I say about a lot of the people that get offended by people they may see not wearing the mask. And I think to myself with them is, okay, you're saying that he needs to wear that mask, but why? And it always ends up because they said, but they also said maybe you shouldn't be wearing the mask.
I mean, for real, what is it keeping out, bro? You need a seal. You need a suction seal with a shaved face. You can't even wear a good mask with a good seal if you don't shave. Like, bro, the masks, they don't do shit. They're aesthetic. They're for cosmetic purposes. They're to say I'm compliant. That's the only fucking purpose of this stupid bullshit. I don't wear the damn mask. For what? To say, people say, or they say it's to keep you from infecting people. It's to wear the mask to keep the virus, to keep your breath away from it. It's bullshit, man. It's just a sign of compliance. Yes, I obey your brand new fucking rule. People are scared to death of that shit, though. Seen one comment earlier said, why people driving in their cars by themselves wearing a mask? Yeah, by their damn self. Tired of this shit, man. Shutting down everything.
Yeah, bro. I just went to grab this right quick. So I do commercial painting, right? And we wear these type of masks when I spray. When I use a paint sprayer.
Yeah.
All right. This type of mask, this is called a respirator. All right. So you see inside of there, you got these two filters. If anything, we should be running around with that type of mask on. But with a certain filter different from the filters that I have on mine, because you can buy different filters. But if anything, maybe we should be running around with that type of, but that face covering that they're telling people, come on, bro.
It's just a sign of compliance. It's not for anything, man. It's not functional, bro. Like you say, you need a fucking actual respirator. That's the mask. That's actually gonna keep out some shit. Like if you're in a room and somebody pumps a bunch of mustard gas in there on some evil shit, if you had a respirator, you actually might be able to survive long enough to get out. But the little mask, I mean, even the ones with the pinch thing on the nose, they let shit through.
No, I'm still up, Samuel. My bad, Jay. I just looked it up online. My live's still up. Go ahead, Jay.
Nah, I'm just saying, man. Tired of seeing this shit. People are scared to death, man.
Yeah, and so Mangrow in the building. What's good with you, Mangrow? And that's where I don't want Champ Ross in the building. What's good, Champ? Is the fear. Like we can't. The last thing we need, people, any of us, all of us, is fear. We can't fear anything, okay? Because everything that's being put out, and the reason it's being put out is for fear purposes. I need you to understand that. They have to have you afraid of something. They do. This is how you control a mass of people. How do you control millions of people? How is it possible to control hundreds of millions of people with less than a 3 million man force? Because that's basically what they have. This is what we're talking about here, people. 370, 80 million people in this country. And they basically control that and keep that in order with less than a 3 million man force. How do you do that? Fear. You put out something to be afraid of, and you provide the protection, the solution, the answer, the antidote. That's how you do it. That's how you control a mass of people. Fear. So whether it be fear of the media, fear of war, we got to protect you with our military. Fear, 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 fear. Remember when George Bush was in office? What did you hear on every news report all the time? Terrorism, terrorism, terror, terror, terrorism, 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 terrorism. People scared the fuck to death of the jihad coming in, blowing shit up. So they had to give you the protection, funding, military funding because of terrorism, 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 terrorism. They had people scared to death. Now you have the pandemic. Fear, people. But you know what releases the fear? What relieves you of being afraid? What frees you of being scared? Educating yourself. Because fear is fueled by ignorance. Let me say that again, bro. Fear is fueled by ignorance. So we got to educate ourselves, people. We have to become more informed so that they can't keep throwing all of this our way, giving us things to be afraid of. A lot of people say, oh, D don't care. He act like he don't care about this or he don't care. No, I care deeply about these situations. I don't fear them. God didn't put me here to run around life, be scared. That good book says that he put you here to be prosperous, joyous, and abundant. Well, running around scared all the time is not prosperous, joyous, and abundant. I don't know what y'all think, but that ain't why he put me here. And I'm not going to do that. But the first way to release yourself, to free yourself from being afraid or scared, is to educate yourself, because ignorance is the fuel for fear. Definitely. More ignorant people are, more you can incite fear. Blow that fire, whoo, like throwing gas on the barbecue pit. And it blow the fire up because they're all scared to death. They don't know what to do. They don't have any answers for themselves. They're scared to death. So the government is supposed to save them. When Katrina happened, what did people do? Put out all kind of videos, they pointed fingers, they accused the government because they were expecting the government to save them. That's how you control people. You act as you are the protector. And if you are the protector, then people listen to what you have to say. It's always worked that way in history, guys. It's always worked that way. And you keep people under control by keeping them dumb. You dumb them down. You don't let them, don't privy them to the correct information. You got to keep them under false beliefs. Keep them dumbed down with the wrong information. This is why you have to question everything that you're being fed from the media, from these people. You have to. Chet Ross says it's been proven the masks do nothing. Yeah, well, I will say it like this, champ. I honestly don't think that they've proven it either way, that they work or that they don't work, because they don't know how to attack this thing. They don't know how to prevent it from spreading. They don't know how to cure it. They're not even really sure how to treat it yet. So they don't know if those damn masks work, or if they do work, or if they don't work. And that's just the whole thing with me. And with people getting in a mass hysteria and condemning and getting angry at other people, or putting up rules that you can't wear a mask. I mean, you can't come around me unless you wear a mask. I think that's where there's an issue. That's where there's an issue, because if they don't understand whether it is or it isn't, why are you people being so judgmental on anyone else? They don't even know. And you're only getting your information from them. So we have to dig ourselves and, look, man, we're smart people. Humans are innovative. We've gotten through millions of years. We have to dig down deep and use some of our innovation and find out, read. One thing's for sure, do any virus or pathogen, what's a good idea? To build your immune system, right? Well, we don't need the medical industry to tell us how to build our immune system, what foods to eat to increase your immune system. People, this is the first step all of you can take to combat COVID-19, for whatever it is. Start eating the foods, dieting in the way to increase your immune system. Something we don't even have to ask them. We know that that's something that's going to help, right? That's the first step we should take, man.
For real, I don't even believe nutrition plays a definite part in your physical feeling. Like, you need good nutrition, at least a certain percentage. But I think most of good health is spirit. Most of good health is energy, is thought, man. Like, you can survive for 2 or 3 days without eating on spirit. Just mad, just angry, just fucking making it. You can survive a long time without food, bro. Like, that shit will keep you alive. I think that's more so your health than anything. It's just mindset. Just staying on top of it and not, like, you can the old saying, worry yourself into bad health. You know what I mean?
Right. Because, I always talk about it. And I don't know if you heard me say it before, Jay, but we break down the word disease, dis-ease. Stress causes dis-ease, causes a body to be at dis-ease, right? And doctors and everything, whether it be holistic healers or Western medicine, they both say the same thing. You can't be in a stressful situation when you're going through these illnesses, right? Stress equals dis-ease. Break down the word disease, bro. You understand where I'm going with that? You have to be at ease. Your body, your mind, your temple has to be at ease. You have to be spiritually in alignment, emotionally in alignment, mentally strong to get through any of these diseases or illnesses or pathogens or viruses or what have you. Organic fitness says you have to find your own identity physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It comes from hard work, not handouts or all sorts from liars who pretend to care and take your money and peace. Facts. It's a fact, bro. Great comment. Great comment. I don't celebrate it or anything, but I appreciate that, Justin Trouble. And happy Father's Day to you too. If you have some young ones, my man. Happy Father's Day to all of you guys out there. If you celebrate it or take part in the event, happy Father's Day to you guys. And much respect to you for being there for your children. One thing I can respect is a good father, man. Mine dipped off when I was 2 years old, and I don't know the man. I don't have anything against him, but I respect all that stay there with theirs. LaRon, what's good with you, fam? Prime Fighting Champions says smoke weed. You know, Prime Fighting Champions, that's a piece of advice that I will always get behind. Well said.
Shit's kind of hard to do when the COVID is cutting your fucking pharmacist off, cuz.
Yeah, depending on where you're at.
I'm about 4 weeks.
No full supply.
Fuck, man. I'm about 4 weeks out. This is some hard time.
I just got finished blowing before I started this live. Dr. Judy Merkovich, who worked under Dr. Fauci for years. You got to watch that video. They took it down because they want people to. Are you talking about that pandemic thing? Is that the lady you're talking about, Chant Ross? The pandemic video? Let me tell you something about that pandemic video. They kept taking it down. If that's the one Champ is talking about, the pandemic thing. They have taken that video down on so many platforms. I've seen that around, right? And so I caught it one time and I recorded it on my editing software and I saved a copy of it, right? It's a reason that video keeps getting removed, bro. It's a reason that video keeps getting removed. You got to understand, this video has been getting removed from people have been putting on Twitch accounts, Patreon, Facebook, and it's been getting removed from all of these social media sites. And I thought to myself, why do you keep taking this thing down? Very, very informative video. I don't believe everything I hear from anyone, but it's some very valid information in there. Some things that she said that made a lot of sense. And if you guys haven't seen that, y'all should check it out. Yeah, okay. Champ said, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, Plandemic. It's called Plandemic. And if anybody needs a look at it, just let me know. I'll email you. They can do what they want to me because I'm not afraid. I'll tell you that right now. But I do have a copy for anybody who can't get a hold of it. I got a copy. I'll send it to you. Sure enough. Very, very informative. But yeah. She says, you know, a lot of stuff. And it just, see, it's just like I was talking about the numbers when I was talking about the numbers that they're putting out about the cases. They just don't add up. It's just, it doesn't validate itself. But the thing she said, a lot of that stuff adds up. That is valid. And one of them things, y'all remember the old Arsenio Hall show said things that make you say, yeah, that's that pandemic. She say a whole lot of things that make you say, because if you've been paying attention to what's going on around you and the things that she speak about in that video, it's just like, it ties right in, bro. It ties right in. It doesn't, like a lot of things she say, you don't even have to question it because you may have been if you're into this stuff like I am, reading and keeping up with this, you may have been thinking in this manner, but you just couldn't confirm it. Then when she comes out and she says this stuff, and she's actually been, you just sort of like, I knew it. I knew it. And then so she confirms a lot of things that you've been thinking, because again, it's all like you got puzzle pieces here, puzzle pieces here. So these numbers that they giving me in the media about the cases of coronavirus, the puzzle pieces ain't fitting, bro. You know, it's like trying to fit squares in a circle. Their puzzle pieces ain't fitting. But this doctor, whatever her name, Judy, Mikovits, all her puzzle pieces fit, and they locked right in perfectly. And you're like, wow, that's what happened. Jay Cooley in the building. What's good with you, Jay Cooley? So y'all check that out if y'all haven't seen it, man. Really, check it out. The masks are probably made by 10-year-old kids in Taiwan. Yeah. Or 10-year-old Ethiopians, or 10-year-old Chinese kids in China factories, man, bro. Or wherever they have these horrible child labor factories, because they're all around the world. They're all around the world, bro. And it's ridiculous. Hell, if you're going to utilize these kids like that, at least put them in better living conditions, right? Fucking Michael Jordan is a billionaire and you making money off of these sweatshops. At least allow these kids to be in better living conditions. What's up, Smoke?
Hey, good morning, man. Good morning. Is that Blues?
Yeah, that's Jay Blues.
Jay Blues,
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up? What's up, chat? I figured I'd join you guys, chop it up a little bit, twist one. Seems like we're just chopping it up, right?
Yeah, I'm just kind of talking about the fact that, I mean, we're going all around with this, but the main point, the main topic is the fact that sports is coming back. And I'm talking about the issues that's going on around us, because I don't want people, like my saying, for the love of sports, let's not be blinded to what's still going on around us. You know, let's not allow the love of sports to, you know, and the return of sports to mass or to become the biggest issue, because that's still a minor issue in the world today. Yeah, we getting sports back, but we still got all this shit going on, right? So let's keep things in perspective. Not to be negative or anything, but we do still need to pay attention to what's going on around us, because at the blink of an eye, sports can be gone again. So how fucking important is it really? You know, 5 or 6 states start reporting explosions in cases of corona. You think they're still going to be worried about how to get fans in the goddamn stadium? I don't think so. So we still need to kind of knuckle down and not become too loose mentally. Not to allow our mental to become too loose, as if this pandemic and this world situation is actually not going on, because it actually still is going on. And then we're just kind of going and talking about certain topics along the way, Smoke. So that's basically
Okay, yeah, I totally didn't get that from I totally didn't get that from the actual discussion. I thought it was like, bring sports back because the numbers aren't real and the masks don't do anything, so you might as well come on. That's the impression I was getting. So I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah, and so we just we start talking about this and that, and then it just leads to these things. And we started talking about Judy Markovich, that pandemic thing that they keep taking down everywhere, you know. And I say some of the most awful things on this platform, and they don't take my shit down. Like, you know, like I just charged Roger Goodell, the NFL, you know, using Black Lives Matter and racial tensions to sell tickets. And it's the truth, right? But they ain't snatching that down. I did get a copyright claim from the NFL and all of that bullshit. I don't care. I don't care about monetizing off that video, so I left it up. But they didn't take it down. Why the hell are they taking Dr. Markovich's videos down everywhere? Why are they taking it down? If it's a lie, if it's not true, then let people see the lie. Why are they snatching this damn thing? The damn thing does not even stay up, Smoke. I don't even think an hour. Maybe an hour.
Yeah.
You go post it on one of your social media sites and watch how long it stays up. They're gonna snatch it down. I've already tried it because I saved it and I have it saved, right? And I've already tried it. I've already posted it, and they snatched the motherfucker right down, fam.
Yeah, depending on the subject matter, it's the fallout from that 2016 election with all the hacking and the bots and the disinformation campaign. That was it was by design. All the social media companies caught hell for it, got in hot water. Actually, they got called into the principal's office. They got called in front of Congress, and then they were threatened with regulation, and so they started self-policing. And it's lip service. It's all lip service, right? So when it comes to something that's of importance, like a worldwide pandemic, and you have some information that goes against what the establishment wants to release,
right?
Yeah, you may want to do that from a position of being part of the establishment.
Yeah, well, look, random people. Myself, Papa Doc, Star. I mean, bro, the list goes on and on. A lot of people I listen to on that level. We're not even with either wing or anything, or you know what I mean? But they're snatching it down from our platforms. Yeah, they don't want it on any platform.
You remember September 11th, right?
Yeah, of course.
It was a Tuesday, right? On Thursday, it was 6,000 people dead, right? It took them, I don't remember how long it took to get an accurate body count, but the actual number turned out to be like 2,000, right? So they tripled the number because they didn't know. So they just included everybody, but then after a while, you started filtering through and they got the real numbers. But even that took a while as they dug through the rubble and got people and all that stuff. Right. So the idea is when the tragedy happens, you cast a wider net as possible so that you don't miss people. But then you figure out what the real numbers are. And with this COVID thing, there's been, for me, this is just anecdotal, right? I have my own family member that dropped dead suddenly under really mysterious circumstances that was ruled a viral death. Not COVID, but this was right before the lockdown. This is before testing and all that stuff. And there's a lot of stories like that about people's family members who were healthy otherwise, and then all of a sudden weren't and died. And around the same time. Could it be COVID? It could be COVID. It could be something else. But until you figure out what the hell is going on, what do you do about it? But just another anecdotal thing, right? I grew up in the Cold War era. And they used to show us these films in school. In case of a nuclear holocaust, get under your desk, right? And then also, in case of a earthquake, get under your desk, right? So an earthquake, nuclear holocaust, whatever the hell was happening, you're supposed to get under your desk. Is being under your desk going to save you from a nuclear holocaust? No, it's not. Right. Another thing, during the September 11th, they were talking about dirty bombs going off, right? They're afraid of radioactive, small fissile radioactive material that you could get from hospitals or whatever, and fusing that into some sort of bomb, and that having a really wide area of destruction, right? So people would get sick and homes be like, whatever. But the cure that they said for that, or the prevention that they gave for that, was to wrap your house in plastic, right? Wrapping your house in plastic is not going to save you from a radioactive device going off, right? It's just not. But the issue is when you have a threat, you have to talk about the threat. And when you talk about the threat, in order to not cause panic, you have to also provide some sort of answer, right? Some sort of, this is what we're doing. It may not be the right thing, but this is what we got for you so far. Right. The idea of the mask, from my understanding of it, is that it's supposed to stop you from spreading it to somebody else. It's not supposed to stop you from getting it from somebody else.
Yeah, but it's not even doing that, man. It's not a perfect seal, bro.
But no, I know it, but it's not a
mean?
zero sum game. But you're turning it into a zero sum game because it's not a silver bullet. That means you shouldn't do it at all. But I think that is problematic. It may not. It may not be. It may not.
Who pushed that narrative?
What when you say like when you say it's not as accurate or it doesn't prevent it.
You might as well be wearing a Kleenex over your shit.
It's not about that. Yeah, it's not about that. I don't think they have a prevention yet, right? They're just using what they have at their disposal.
All right, Smoke, slow down. Who's saying that you shouldn't wear it at all? You shouldn't do it at all. Where is that coming from? Because I'm just going up. You like just because such and such, you shouldn't say that you shouldn't do it at all. Where is that coming from?
The comment that Jay Blue was making about the efficacy of wearing a mask, right? And the efficacy, it may not be a 100% thing. It may only be a 15% thing, right? And they have everybody doing it it may be a 2% thing. What I'm saying is, if there is something that could be helpful to somebody, that's what they're putting out there. Okay, doesn't mean that it won't stop it. Right? No, I'm not saying that. Actually, let me back up. I'm not saying that is what they're putting out there. Maybe that is what's happening.
All right, I get it. But in that sentiment, for the medical doctors that's coming out, that's saying wearing this mask may be harming us. So in that same sentiment, that just maybe 2% that you could be harming yourself, and you're shoving this damn mask over your face all of the time, you have to understand or respect both sides where the person is coming from. Hold on for a second, Jay Blues. So, Smoke, I get what you're saying. No, don't just totally dismiss it because this may. But what about the doctors that's saying it could be harming you? Then on the other side, I don't want to put that thing on my face. So for the people that do want to put it on their face, I respect that. But for the people that don't want to put it on their face, Smoke, you have to respect that. It's not about dismissing it. It's about leaning on whichever way may be correct, Smoke, because one of them may be wrong or both of them may be wrong. How about that? We don't fucking know the thing.
Right, I understand. Like I said, I grew up. They were telling us to prevent in the case of a nuclear holocaust, get under your desk. I get it. I totally get it. And who knows what the hell is happening under your desk? But the idea that it could be harmful to some is I can definitely get behind that and understand that is quite possibly true.
Because it's not the correct type of covering. Before you jumped on, I always tell everybody I do commercial painting, but this is a respirator style mask. This is the type of mask that we use when we use the paint sprayer because there are caustic chemicals coming through those paints that we're spraying out. Okay, so when we spray in these Walmarts and Lowe's and big places like that with these industrial paint sprayers, we have to use this respirator style mask and it actually filters out chemicals. Now they have different types of filters. These things are removable. There's different types of filters that you can buy. So if we're supposed to be wearing certain masks, is it those fucking face coverings that they're telling us? Or would it be something more similar to an official respirator mask that will, you know what I mean? But people are just so willing to go snatch up and grab what they tell you to fucking wear.
Exactly.
But some doctors saying, Smoke, that it is probably not a good idea to wear that. So when people come with hold on real quick, I'm gonna let you go next, Jay. So when people come with the idea like, well, don't just dismiss it. Maybe you should this, that, and the third. Well, don't dismiss the fact that maybe you should never strap that motherfucking thing on your face to begin with. You cannot dismiss that fact either.
But the idea. Oh, sorry, Jay. Did you want to go?
Yeah. Just give me a little minute, man. It's a sign of compliance. It's not an actual effective anything, man. It's not a deterrent to any kind of virus or giving out any kind of. Come on, man. You explained it. You gave the best metaphor for this bullshit. Hiding underneath your desk. It's the same exact equation. It's the same analogy, man. You're hiding underneath your desk from a virus with basically a Kleenex over your face, bro. Like you need a proper seal with actual filters like that goddamn painter's mask, man. Like
listen, but there's degrees, right? And I don't know that the painter's mask will or won't cause a harm to people if you start doing it, if everybody started wearing a painter's mask the same way everybody's supposed to be wearing these other masks, right? Because really the whole point of it is you're not born with a mask on your face. So all of this stuff is probably like an imperfect idea to the way people are supposed to actually experience the physical world. But we're still trying to we're trying to figure that part of it out.
But you said if it's something good to be done to prevent it, we should do it. So therefore, comply.
Right.
Does that mean? Does that mean?
Nah,
hold on! Don't cut me off.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Chill.
Chill.
If your whole thing is, if there's one good thing to be done to prevent it, we got to do it. How far does that go? Like how fucking far to complete quarantine, martial law, stay in your house? If this is you're not. It's one good thing we can do. You're not willing to do it. Oh, you're fucking. Come on, man. How far does it go for real?
Okay, so I don't know if you've ever been in a stampede, but I was chilling in the park one day, and all of a sudden people started running. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know where it came from in direction, but all of a sudden I found myself running with all the people, right? And the people who don't run wound up getting trampled. Right? Not everyone died, but that is what happens when there is an idea when we're all together, living communally. Correct, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like there's an idea about the world that we live in is about being responsible for one another. There's a part about being responsible for yourself, but there's also a responsibility that we have to each other.
You also have a responsibility to logic, man. And like thinking truthfully and not just going along with the hive mind. I mean, just because everybody's running, you got to assess the situation and see what's like all the variables, man. Like you can't
I did definitely. Like, but here's the thing: like, I didn't decide to run. That's my entire point to you. Is that your instinct kicks in, your fight, flight, like that whole thing. It actually kicks in, and once I got to a place where I could stop and assess, I realized I was like no longer in the pack and nobody knew what the hell happened. No one around me was like, oh yeah, this is what happened. So we started running. It's like literally you ran because you had to.
Well, my natural instinct is to question the media, question the government. Since the mid to late 1990s, when I start picking up certain books and reading, my natural instinct now is to question these big industries. Naturally. Like that's what my natural instinct is. And I think that, it would be beneficial to a lot of people to not just automatically question these industries, but to do a little research before you believe in what these industries are telling you. Because too many people are not researching anything or don't even want to pick or even question or find out if what they're being told is accurate. They just want to jump on it.
Oh yeah, I'm with you, D. When it comes to the media
and everything that they're being told to do, the direction that's being told to walk in, get in every line they're told to, get in and accept every fucking drug in their veins that they're told to accept in their veins, and they're just willing to go along with it without questioning that shit, the slightest.
So I don't know if you can tell about this, but I come from a conservative family. I'm one of maybe like 3 black sheep, right? But even within that, right? I smoke weed, but I made sure the laws changed so that everybody could smoke weed, not just me flaunting the law, right? But that's not the position that everybody takes. Like you're going to try to figure out what's good for everybody. Most people just do what's good for them, right? So that's really what it boils down to is if you think that the mask is going to save you, you may be wrong, right? Or if you think the mask can stop you from spreading the disease to someone else, you may be wrong, or you may be right. Or maybe COVID won't affect you at all. Maybe you can have the COVID, you'll you can recover from the COVID and you won't spread it to other people. But because there's so many variables, what are you supposed to do? Like, I get it that some people will say, you know, it's a spiritual thing and just be strong within yourself, but this is a systemic thing, not just an individual thing. So what do you do in order to affect the system, right?
What do you do individually in order to affect the system?
Right. So the idea, so everyone's wearing masks because that's actually the protocol now. That's you know, businesses won't serve you. Like, they've already, the state regulations have come down to individual businesses. If we see you like this, you may be in violation, whatever. They put the smack down. So now the smackdown is down on the entire public. Everyone has to wear a mask. What do you do what can individuals do to make sure that a pandemic is being respected and being handled responsibly versus just knee-jerk reaction and going along with what the authorities tell you to do? There has to be a medium.
I would say find out as much as you can find out and inform as many people as you can inform and as you can inform. And individually, that's the most that you can do as an individual. Because if you find out something, Smoke, and you find out that it's true, then within your community, within your family, it just went from one person knowing that to, say, maybe 100 people knowing that. And if each person in your family individually did the same thing, then that number multiplies 100-fold and so forth and so on. So individually, that's the first step you can take. Information, bro. Inform as many people as you can inform, but make sure that your information is correct. Make sure that you're doing enough research, that you're picking up enough, that you're learning enough to at least give sound advice or inform people in the correct way. Because if you inform people with ignorance, you're not going to do anything but spread more ignorance.
Yeah, I mean, that is, for me, so the first time I saw like the whole mask thing was in Asia in like, mid-90s. And it was prevalent there, like Thailand, people, like the cops were they were just people out and about wearing masks all the time. I thought it was weird. I never saw it before. Now America's like that. It's kind of a strange thing. I don't know if this is about the manufacturer of masks got to deal with somebody or actually what the efficacy of a mask is. But it seems as though there's a lot of ignorance, even amongst the experts. The experts don't know. So now, where does it leave people like this, like people like us? Are we supposed to become an expert and then have our own opinion that differs with other experts, the same way like boxing historians do?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going on in the medical field, though. The experts are disagreeing with each other. And the media is determining what side, just like you always say, Smoke, like these networks are making you determine who to, it's the media's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Which side of the medical field they want to go with, and they're making all of you say, okay, wear the mask. That's exactly what's going on. The same ideology you use in boxing. That's what's going on, because the medical industry have not decided which way is the correct way to go. So the media is taking it upon themselves and say, hey, let's go with wearing the mask. They haven't determined whether wearing the mask is right or not wearing the mask is right. But the media is pumping wearing the mask is right. And a lot of people are getting offended at the people who are not wearing the mask, not understanding that they don't have a fucking clue if that's effective or not.
Yeah, so really my whole thing with the mask personally, I don't like the mask. I don't want to wear the mask, but I have a lot of contact with my parents in these days. And both of my parents are in the targeted group. They have underlying health issues. They're elderly, and they have mostly been conformists since I was a adolescent. Like, they used to be buck the system and used to be all revolution, all that stuff. But there's a certain point when they fought their fight and they just go along with the herd, right? So in order to appease and to protect the people who feel like they're most under threat, I just do what I do. Like, I wear the mask around, I wash my hands a bunch of times, wear gloves, and all that shit. But really, I don't think that it's effective. other than giving them peace of mind. And as long as they have peace of mind, then it's effective. If you tell me that the mask is going to start causing some negative effects on me or some adverse effects, then yeah, I'm going to re-examine this whole thing. But at this point, it's about peace of mind for the people who are actually at risk.
So, Smoke, let me ask you this. If they tell you that people like your parents and, you know, people that are at risk, if the media starts to come out and starts to inform the world that this new RDF chip that they have coming out will prevent a whole lot of new pathogens and everything from coming in you, and then they prove it with a couple of old people. This person was close to death because of COVID. They received the chip, and now they're all healthy, dandy, and fine. Would you start suggesting that everybody go get that chip shot into them?
Okay. If my parents moved to Texas, I'm not coming to visit. So the whole chip thing. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, nah, I'm not going extreme.
If the chip was the cure and all of these old people that people worried about, the coronavirus stop affecting them altogether because they got the chip shot into their arm, would you start convincing people to start getting the chip shot into their arm?
Okay. If the entire world was being chipped up, right? If the cure was everybody needs to get chipped up, right? What I would do is wait to the until it became a life or death situation for me and mine to get a chip, because I'm not down with that, right? But if the entire world is doing that, I'm not even trying to convince anyone to wear a mask now. I'm just talking about the reason why I wear a mask.
Well, my thing was, right, if the media tells you about this chip, like they're telling you about the mask, would you push this chip idea? Let's put it that way to make it more simple. If they're pushing this chip the way they're pushing this mask now, and they got all of these industries coming out telling you, oh yeah, it's fine, it's great, it's dandy, the way that they're saying about these masks, and they're pushing the idea of get a mask, put it on, get a mask, put it on. If they did the same thing with the chip, would you support the chip? The same shit they doing with this mask. If it was, well, if it's a slight chance that, you know, it works, I'd say go ahead and wear it, because it's a slight chance that the mask work. If this same ideology was being put out with the chip,
for something as invasive as a chip, for something invasive as invasive as a chip,
Smoke, the same shit that's going on with the mask was going on with the chip, bro. We don't have to get like down. You know what I'm asking you. If they were doing,
no, I mean, I get it, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Would you say?
I understand.
What you're saying about the mask, would you say the same about the goddamn chip? This is what I'm asking you, bro. Come on.
Probably not. If my parents wanted me to get a chip in order to make them more safe, in order to make them safe, no, I would not get a chip. But I don't think it's the same thing. But I don't think it's equivalent. I don't think it's equivalent, because a punch in the mouth is not putting a bullet between somebody's eyes. There is a difference. There is degrees.
Let me tell you why it's equivalent. Because it's still a life-risking thing. If they're fucking dead wrong about strapping that mask to your face all the time, they're killing people, Smoke. That fucking RDF chip, we know what that's about. It's still the same thing. It is still just as offensive. I ain't gonna fucking smooth it out or make it sound like it's less. If that thing comes out to where it does not help and it actually harms people, it's fucking equivalent. And what I'm saying is that's why I utilize something as detrimental as that chip, because people look at that a whole lot more serious than they're looking at this mask situation. But I don't give a fuck if it's a piece of candy or a piece of gold. The ideology is what I'm talking about. You cannot force an idea on people, period.
Bro,
but poison, bro. That ideology is poison. And the thing that the media is doing, Smoke, is trying to get more people to eventually lean over to that angle that you're pushing. Well, if it's just 1%, 2% chance, and then once more people lean over to that angle, then they push more people to leaning over to the angle where you have to have it. And if you don't have it, you're putting everybody else in danger. And then they push more people over to there. And then it finally becomes to the point that the people who don't have it are fucking criminals. But it starts with that little small ideology, Smoke. Well, if it's just 1% or 2% chance, maybe you should just go ahead. No, the fuck you should not. If you're do not know. And no, you shouldn't even fucking start having people feel like they should just because this is what's being put out by the media, because we have no fucking clue. That's just my idea on it. That's my opinion on it. And that would be with this mask, that would be with the chip, that would be with anything else that they would try to desensitize the public to slowly, and it leads to something else. And which is the way they work. They start small, at a small level, desensitizing you to it. Then they make it like it's a normal thing. Then they make it taboo if you don't. And it slowly escalates. This is what happens.
No, I mean, listen. If you ask me what I think about taxes, it's that. Right, it's exactly what you're talking about. It's about control. It's about a few controlling the many and enriching themselves for their own personal benefit along the way. Right, and I understand all of what you're saying. My issue is not so much about whether or not the chip is going to be, whether or not the chip would be positive or would be overall positive or overall negative. It's more about if you can do the non-invasive things in order to prevent something, then do that.
Yeah, but see, this my thing is this, and I'm glad you just made that statement, and that's why I put Cat comment up here. It is not about the mask, and it's not about the chip. At least the point that, it's not about the mask or the chip, guys. And I think Jay Blues get where I'm coming from. It's about what they're doing and how they're mental. Remember, guys, these power of the mind things is about the mental. It's about how they're getting you to respond. Cat, it's a mask. It's not going to kill you. Cat, we get that. That's not the point that I'm making here. And then Smoke with You is not a point about the chip. It's about the mind, how they're playing with the minds. Listen, they're forcing the public to think in a certain way. And y'all can say, oh, it's not about the mask, it won't kill you. Just put the goddamn thing on. That's what they want you to eventually come to the point. Just to come to that point. Oh, it's just the mask. Don't argue. Just put it on. Okay. So you move from there. Remember, slowly desensitize. So you move from this attitude to now everybody should wear a mask. And you move from that to now everybody has to fucking wear a mask because you are slowly taking the right from people to wear the mask. People like Cat feel like, look, just shut the fuck up and put the mask on. And I get it. But that's what they want more people to feel like. Those people that don't refuse to, just shut the fuck up and put the mask on. Or like Smoke says, look, if it can help one and there's a possibility, just put the mask on. So now you got people saying, just shut the fuck up and put the mask on. Now you got people like Smoke saying, hey, look, if it's a possibility, just put the mask on. So the people who don't want to put the mask on, right? Their ideal, let's pay attention to the ideal, is the control. They're trying to make you feel and make you think and make you perform and make you act in a certain way, bro. So later down the line, they can force certain things. And once they get to the point where they force certain things, it's the ideals, bro. It's the ideals. This is a whole part of tribal thinking. They want everybody to think in the same manner so that they can force people to do certain things. It's not about an isolated incident or one particular subject, the mask, the pills, the fucking RDF chip or whatever the fuck. It's not about one particular thing. It's about the way they're moving. We have to keep our own minds. We can't allow them to control our minds or control the way we think, or force other people to think in a certain way, because that is the agenda that they want. See,
yeah,
mask, bro.
Yeah. So just to piggyback, because I actually agree with what you're saying, right? And the example that I'll use is not so much the RDF chip as a hypothetical, but something that is actually real with vaccination, right? So vaccination actually did help with polio and leopard and any number of things, right? The inoculation was helpful. Now, however, if you don't get your child vaccinated, you can't go to public school, right? That they make sure that every child gets vaccinated, even though, the rise of polio is a slight spike in the last 20 years, but we haven't really seen polio cases in forever, in like half a century, like since they started doing the vaccinations, right? So there are some studies, and there's conflicting studies about whether or not the vaccinations are actually doing harm. But at this point, if you want to work and you have a child, and you are not going to quit your job to raise your child in your home, and you're going to send them off to the establishment's institutions, then you are going to have to do what the establishment says. And it starts from there. It starts with you abdicating your responsibility as a parent to a child who doesn't have a say in it at all. So you're raised to actually maybe to supplant your own self-interest because the authority figures say this is what you're supposed to do. So I understand what you're saying. My issue it isn't so much about like the way that people use methods to control other people. It's more about whether or not your polio has been eradicated yet. So when polio wasn't eradicated, the vaccination wasn't actually a good idea.
Let me ask you this. Kat says polio cases has dropped because of vaccines. That doesn't mean not to get them anymore. It means the vaccines are working. Kat, what about all of the people that have come in contact with polio that did not get vaccinated, that did not get affected, that did not die from polio? What do we say about these people? I'm going to tell you what I say about these people. It's the same thing that I always say. Vaccinations are designed and made by man. All of the people such as myself and anybody else in the world who has come in contact or around these illnesses and have not contracted it or been affected by it, our bodies work the way the divine designed them to work, without these chemicals that were pumped in the arms by man. Vaccinations were created by man. And more than likely, a lot of these goddamn diseases were too. So they're vaccinating the diseases that they already created. Okay? So it would make sense to me and someone that thinks like me that vaccinations would keep down shit that was created by you, because you designed a way for it to affect people. Therefore, you can design a way to suppress it. But I ain't gonna go sticking that shit in my arm when you're behind the whole madness in the first place. And that's what I think about a lot of these vaccinations, regardless of what the fuck people say, bro. Regardless. My kids and Smoke, it is, you are forced to get these vaccinations to put your children in school if you don't sign a waiver. It's a waiver that's offered. And I know that it's offered because none of my kids have been vaccinated to this day, and they have not encountered chicken pox, mumps, measles, or whatever these fucking vaccinations were supposed to protect them from. None of my kids. I showed you guys the picture the other day. They're all beautiful, grown, healthy. They all went through school without these fucking vaccinations that, quote unquote, our kids need to have. Get the fuck, don't fucking try to push no fucking vaccinations on me. And this is not to you, Kat. This is to the government, sis. I'm not coming at you. But and let me take your comment down just so that you don't think that I'm coming at you. I'm not coming at you. This is coming at the government. Don't fucking tell me that my child has to take some vaccination, some a soup of chemicals that man created, that my child has to take this to a 10-year school system. Because if that was the case, I would have taught my kids, I would have homeschooled them. But I would have refused to send them.
Yeah, so I did homeschool mine, but it was also, we were sort of traveling. But anyway, I was just going to say that what you're saying is a state by state. In California, they've now passed a law. Like, I think that I'm done making babies, right? But if you're still making babies in the state of California and you plan on sending them to a public school, even a public preschool, a preschool that is accredited by the state or licensed by the state, you got to get that vaccination record.
That's unconstitutional.
I'm just saying now, like they got to work that through, right? So at this point
I
in the
don't
state
know
of
how
California,
they got to work it through, but somebody could definitely fight it in court because on the federal level, it's unconstitutional for religious reasons. I've already been through this, bro. I've been through this in different states. In some states, they claimed that it had to be done, and my kids didn't get it done. And I'm telling you, I've already been through this through the court system because on the federal level, it's unconstitutional, period. So I know you live in California, and I don't, but I have already been in a fight with states that say that you have to have it. And guess what? My kids never had it because it's unconstitutional at a federal level for religious reasons. And it goes as deep as if you sign the waiver, they can't even ask you to break down the religion and why in your religion you believe that you shouldn't take it. And I've already been through this from experience. I know for a fact, Smoke, it's unconstitutional.
Yeah, no, I get you, but you know, California passes unconstitutional laws all the time. That's what they do.
At the state level, and if your child was there, all I'm telling you, at a state level, if your child was there and you fought it, you could get them to go to school because it's been deemed unconstitutional at a federal level. I've already done it, is what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, bro. None of my kids have had it.
No, and I listen. I'm with you. I know people who have. My kids weren't ever, and I wasn't ever going to send my children to public school, so that wasn't even a real an issue. But I do have friends who did, and who are, you know, of the same kind of community, and yeah, they just fought it. They just, you know. But that was before. Our kids are big now. Our kids are grown. It's this next generation.
This is for the next generation. If y'all don't want y'all kids to take that bullshit, don't let them tell y'all that they have to take those vaccinations, because vaccinations were created by man. The divine did not create vaccinations. So ain't no man going to tell me you have to allow you to pump man-made chemicals into my bloodstream. Fuck no.
Or whatever the fuck else is in that syringe.
Right.
That could be the goddamn chip. Oh,
ain't nobody gonna fucking preach to me that it's a good thing that I get some fucking man-made chemicals pumped through my veins or my kids' veins. You're not gonna convince me of that bullshit. Hell no. Hell to the fuck no. What's up, Kat? Welcome to
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi. Okay. So usually I'm with you on most of your topics, but today we're just not on the same wavelength. Okay, so I understand what you're saying as far as like marketing and stuff, and you know, like as far as like the news and things like that. But when it comes to vaccines, I understand what you're trying to say, but you do have to understand how bacteria works, how fungus works. I mean, just like the whole basis of microbiology, vaccines are needed. I mean, that's not an if. Herd immunity works, and it's mostly used for those that, for whatever reason, can't receive the vaccine because of health issues or health reactions. But they are needed. Now, as far as the mask and should we wear them or should we wear them, I get what you're saying again, but at the same time, it's a health related issue. So I don't think, like, I think you guys are using the mask as a political statement, and this is just not the time to go there. When we have people that are constantly dying, and it's not just in the US, we're talking worldwide. In New York, we had in certain countries, like in Brazil, we had it in Puerto Rico, where we had meat freezer trucks loaded with dead bodies, and we're talking that most of those dead bodies are Black people that are being most affected by what's going on now. So this is just not the time to sit here and say, well, you know, I don't want to wear a mask because I feel like the government is doing X, Y, and Z. I just think that it's just not the right time and place to be having this conversation when it's a global health issue.
Right. Well, see, that's why I don't want people to get lost too, Kat, that it's not about the mask. It's about this conversation. First and foremost, is more about your mindset and not allowing the media to make you think, bro. We have to think for ourselves. The mask comes up when the mask ever comes up in these conversations. We're gonna get a big discussion about the mask because it's something that people are, you know, going back and forth with now. The mask in particular, but first and foremost, Kat, you have to appreciate the fact that there are a lot of people worldwide that believe in holistic and natural forms of healing, Eastern per se, Eastern medicine, more over Western medicine. Now, there are
Agree.
some things in Western medicine that I agree with myself that they actually work. You can rely on Western medicine for certain things, but I'm more of the holistic and Eastern beliefs. So a lot of things in the Western medical industry that people pull and hold a lot of faith to and say, well, you should do this because of, you have to realize that that's based on the information provided by the Western medical industry. And for a person like me, I'm not coming from a political stance when it comes to that. I'm coming from the fact that I don't believe in the Western medical industry. I don't believe in removing from God's temple because you've done studies and you think that you're qualified to remove a kidney or a liver. No, God created this. See, I don't believe in those things, Pat. I believe that there's things of the earth that can heal us without a doctor cutting us open and digging into us. And so the fact that I don't have the amount of faith in the Western medicine as you do, sometimes people from your practice would believe that a person like myself is putting people in danger. But I don't see healing the way you see healing. You understand where I'm coming from?
I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm going to rebuttal just because you live in a Western world. So you can't use all of the things that someone, that lives out in the country would use to treat their illnesses because of how we pollute, what we used to eat. We have actual chemicals that are put in milk to prevent certain diseases in the United States. We have certain things in the grain that we eat that they put in to prevent certain diseases because of how the U.S. Has formed, how we've become such a modernized country. We need certain things in our bodies to help prevent things that we cause, from fumes, from the number of cars, just from different things. You're talking about like oil extraction. So we can't
Pesticides,
compare.
chemicals being pumped into meats. Like, let's not make it
Exactly.
all about environmental issues. It's stuff that they're putting in the foods also that they have to design pharmaceuticals for because they tainted the foods. Like,
Exactly. So we can't rely on those holistic treatments because they won't work for us because of what we put our bodies through daily, what we consume, whether it's us walking outside, the air that we breathe. So that's why Western medicine for us is completely different from if you were to go to the UK, if you were to go to Brazil, et cetera, just because of how we live is completely different. And everybody's medical treatment is different based on how we all live.
I can only go from personal experiences, right? And I will tell you this, and that's all I can do. That's all I can do. I can believe what a doctor in Western medicine tells me, or I can practice, like I can consume certain herbs. Turmeric is very good for you guys that don't know. Look up turmeric, and I consume plenty of turmeric. So I can consume these things. I can stop eating the meats, and I can treat my body and myself, even in this Western country. And then I can face something like sepsis, which you appear that you're in the medical field, so you know about sepsis.
Mm-hmm.
Once sepsis gets to basically the worst stage, right? So a guy like me can get there, and without taking any of you guys' pharmaceuticals, come through this. And I'm here today, and this is something that I've experienced because I told the doctors when I went there, I refused all of the medications, Kat. This is a true story. This is something that's happened to me. And so because of the lifestyle that I live and the things that I do, and I know what the numbers are, and you know what the numbers are, Kat, that when people get to that stage of sepsis, it kills over an awful lot of people, right? Even if they take these medications that the medical industry, more than 50% of these people still die from it, even if they take those medications. And I didn't take any of them. and I did things of a holistic nature, certain herbs and such, and mine, and I'm here today. So I can only go from my experience. I can listen to what all the reports and the studies and the theories, because that's what Western medicine, based on theories and studies and reports. So I can go and listen to what these doctors that have done all of these studies and reports have told me, or I could go through what I have actually lived through. This is something that was supposed to have killed me. And those doctors told me that if I didn't go to the Walgreens or the CVS or whatever and go pick up these medicines or allow them to shoot these medicines in me in the hospital, which I didn't allow that either, that I was going to die. Right? I ain't die, cat. So I can go by what someone tells me from articles and journals, or I can go from what I have experienced in life. I always share my sepsis story. Many people know about it. But I didn't decide to take the medical industry route and pump these drugs in me and go to a CVS and pop these pills every day. And I survived, which their numbers show you that most people don't even survive this illness.
Well, lucky for you, you did survive.
It's not luck. It's not luck. It's luck for people who believe it was more spiritual and another form of healing. I don't see that it was luck. It was not luck. It was another way. And we have to understand as people that there is another way. The Western medical is not the only way. And a lot of people
you're right. No,
it wasn't luck. Right. I'm just saying it wasn't luck. I think that more of us can do this, that there are other ways, there are alternative ways of healing. We can't just say it is luck because it doesn't match up with Western medicine. See?
There are medical anomalies all the time, right? All throughout history, like unexplained phenomena. Somehow, it was just another lucky case. He was lucky he survived. Some other healing ailment was prevalent.
That's how medical, and I'm not, no offense to you, Miss Cat, but that's how the Western medical industry does, bro. All of the things that they can't understand is either a miracle, magic, or lucky, because it doesn't
you need to understand because a lot of us heal. Because we go more through a scientific, right? So 2 + 2 has to equal 4. You know what I mean? Like it can't be like, well, we think, so I understand where you're coming from. And yes, there are a lot of cases where for whatever reason, we can't come up with the answers. And there's an answer like elsewhere. But that doesn't mean that, you shouldn't seek treatment through Western medicine. Okay, but again, if you have like another choice or route that you feel that you should go to, you can. But it's up to you at the end of the day.
Right, and that's something that I know you've heard me say on here before too, Kat. I encourage people to wear the mask. I do it on here all the time. Say, listen, guys, if you are for Western medicine and you believe in please wear the mask, because at the end of the day, here's something that I believe over all these medicines. I believe that our minds, this is something that God has given us, and none of this superficial earthly stuff to me is prioritized over God, Cat. I'm sorry. Call me what you want, a spiritualist or whatever. But I think the divine supersedes all of this stuff. Man, or what man has learned and found out, does not supersede the divine to me. So the divine told me that everything starts within here. Okay? We can actually heal ourselves with the mind. So my point is, you have to be at ease here. We just talked about this earlier. Stress is a body at dis-ease. Even in your field, Kat, will tell you, like with cancers and leukemia, you cannot be stressed. Right? You have to be at ease here. So I believe that if you keep your mind easy, then you have less of a chance of these things affecting you. So if you're comfortable with the Western medicine and you believe in what they've taught you, then you should wear the mask, because you're going to be at ease here. So we got to start here, right? And for all of you guys out there that believe that wearing this mask is, you know, something that's going to protect you, I implore you to put the mask on, because I know that it helps you because of my spirituality, because of here. If you feel comfortable here, that is the start, and that has to be done. So I always encourage people to wear the mask. I'm not saying don't wear the mask. I'm just saying that I offer my perspective, and don't fucking bash me, because, Kat, you have to realize a guy like me gets bashed all the time for not wearing my mask. But I'm not bashing you guys that's deciding to wear your mask. So don't fucking condemn or persecute me for not wearing my mask. And I think that because of the media, and this is what I'm talking about, Kat, because of the media, people are starting to be desensitized to the people's right to choose. And it's becoming more of wear the mask or it's taboo. I'm starting to go to different stores. You can't even come in here without wearing a mask. Well, wait a minute. If we don't know if it's one way or the other, how are you going to force people to wear a mask?
Okay, but the thing with that is, by you choosing to not wear it, okay, you just said we're not sure if it does or if it doesn't work. Let's say that, you know, it does work. By you choosing not to wear it, you're putting other people in harm's way because they're wearing it. So by them speaking, it's not, you know, like, you're not being affected. But by you speaking without a mask, it's affecting other people because not everyone, you know, has glasses. So everyone's talking about the mask. What people don't understand is you should have goggles on as well, because your eyes can have, you know, spit go in there or whatever. But by you deciding not to wear it, you're not harming yourself, you're harming people around you. And that's what people don't seem to understand. But I understand where you're coming from as far as people the right to choose. I was just talking in the chat, and some lady said that she refused to wear a mask because she doesn't consider herself a burglar. She's not Antifa. She's not a Muslim. Like, what does that have to do with? That has nothing to do with it. And then you have people saying, well, you know, it's my right as an American, since I've worn the mask, I don't feel free. This is a health issue. Now, if the media is turning it into a political situation, that's a completely different story.
So what about the medical doctors, Kat? And if you haven't seen these, I've seen multiple videos, but there are medical doctors coming out and they're talking about certain bacteria. They're just talking about reasons maybe it's not a best idea for us to keep those masks over our face. Is there any validity to what they're saying? Because our immune systems are built off of taking things in and working. So we're not taking a lot of things in. There are good bacteria we're missing. There are things that we're missing from taking in, keeping ourselves covered. What if it comes out that those masks are not what the medical industry believed that, and they were actually harming people by wearing those masks? So there's a flip side to that.
So the thing with the mask is you need to understand that how bacteria and fungus works. Just like how we evolved, so do they. So just because, you know, last year flu was some type of way, this year it may have grown into something different. So yes, it's true that by us being outside without masks, we teach our bodies how to fight off like certain diseases. You know, we have our white blood cells, etc., that fight. You have to contain certain things in order for your body to know how to react to it. The problem with that is, just because you fought off a flu last year, that doesn't mean that that exact flu is the one you contained next year. Right? So your body works itself to produce certain antibodies to keep fighting things off. The thing with this is that viruses and bacteria are two different things. We don't fight off viruses with medicine. That's what people don't understand, right? So when you have a virus, right, and you go to the doctor and they're like, oh, you know, well, we'll give you Tylenol. Yeah, that's not helping you whatsoever, because there's nothing that breaks a virus. A virus breaks itself down in your body. Your body has to go through certain things to survive, right? With bacteria, how it's built, there's certain pills, there's certain medication that breaks down the bacterial wall and helps you fight it all. With viruses, that's not the case. So that's why this is so dangerous. The reason why we haven't had a vaccine for it, and we're still trying to find not even a cure, but just something to help ease the symptoms. That's what they're not telling you, right? So we're trying to make something to ease the symptoms, not to actually destroy the virus, because we can't destroy viruses. We haven't got to that point yet in medicine at all. So the point of wearing the mask is just a preventive measure to allow you less risk to contain it.
Well, yeah, I hear that and I understand the logic. I just think that, again, man, outside of the medical industry, we have so many other things going on in this world, certain agendas, and I don't want to climb back into that. But I just think that for the many people as myself that believe in alternative forms of healing and medicine, for the many medical physicians out there just saying, hey, wait a minute, stop, don't put the mask on. All of us are being ignored. And to me, it's almost like even the medical physicians in your field, like in Western medicine, they're saying, oh, no, stop. And then for the people like myself, they're saying, wait, we're all being ignored. It's like, well, look, yeah, I know this is what you guys think, but this is what needs to be done. And that's just how I feel. That's how I see it. That we're being ignored, period, totally ignored, because it's always at the end of the statement, okay, I see what you're saying, but there are doctors in your field that's saying the mask is not necessarily the way to go. But I'm supposed to ignore them too when I'm not comfortable with Western medicine in general. Like there's doctors in your field saying the mask ain't the way to go, but I'm still supposed to believe in this ideal when I don't really believe in Western medicine in general. And there's millions and billions of people like myself. It's not just me that believe.
Right. But that was already debunked.
And Western medicine. I mean, so.
But in France, they tried that. In France, they tried to do the herd immunity where they suggested nobody wear a mask, and look where they're at now.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, you can look at it like that as well.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. But I just say this. I say that, going out and communicating in public and everything else, just like she said, is goggles are a factor. Hell, I will, wear the mask, guys. If you feel there's a certain amount of danger that you're in or you putting someone else in, then you should definitely put that mask on your face, man. That's what I have to say about the mask. I'm just saying that I'm not gonna, I've never sat up here and pushed, man, don't be wearing no mask. Don't put that mask on your face. That mask is stupid. No, I've never pushed that motive. But when I'm asked about it, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, cloud it over, or anything, or act like I have faith in or believe in that. That's just not the message that I'm going to push. And I believe that some people get offended because I don't push that message, and I have a platform where a lot of people listen to me. Well, I can't sugarcoat or push or side with anything that I don't believe in. And it's not just boxing. It's life, basketball, spirituality, religion, and that's just the way I am. I'm not going to sugarcoat or push it or push that agenda, but I will say that people need to do what they feel necessary and what makes them feel safe. And if that's putting a mask on, then you need to put a mask on, because I believe a lot of people do feel like they should wear the mask. You know why? Because I get more pushback for not wearing a mask or not having the idea that I should be saying, yeah, we should wear the mask. I get pushback. That means a whole bunch of people are in lieu of wearing the mask. All of you guys should put that damn thing on every day when you leave the house. I encourage it because it makes you feel comfortable. And remember, healing, safety, everything starts right here. This is what God's given us. It starts here. And if your mind is working in that order, that you feel safe, that you're preventing yourself. Remember, we create in our own existence. That's what this power of the mind is about too. And it starts in the mind. Everything that you think, all the energy you put out, the words that you say, that vibration goes out, that starts with that. That starts to create everything in your existence, everything around you. So if safety is from this mask that you're putting over your face, that's the aura, that's the vibration, that's the energy that's coming out of this thing here, out of this box. And that actually does help the world, regardless of what any medical book say. That actually does help the world. That's actually how everything in existence works, from all of our minds. So I implore everybody to put that mask on, that feels safe from putting that mask on, that believes in the things that the Western medicine or any other medicine is telling you to put that mask on, that believes in the articles that say, hey, New Zealand has a low count because they have been listening to what we've been telling them to do. And guess what? New Zealand has a hell of a low count of cases. So if you feel comfortable, put the mask on, because guess what? It's working for them. It's working really well for them. So we should put it on here, because here's the reality of it. If 100 out of 1 people are putting a mask on and you got one like me, well, my ignorant ass is doing less of effect than everybody else, than everybody. You know what I'm saying, Kat? So let me be a dumb fucker running around with no mask, and the 100 people around me are. That's still less of a chance that this thing is being spread. So put the mask on. That's what I'm saying. I don't want people to sit up here and say, I'm advocating against wearing a mask. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's alternatives, and don't feel pressured, or don't feel like the media or people around you can lead you to believe. You know what I mean? That's what I don't accept. I don't accept anybody pushing their ideas on me, but I'm not going to push mine on anyone else's, but I'm not going to lie about the way I feel about these things. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's how it is.
We're all told, you know, the anatomy of a story, right? The 5 W's and the H, the who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? Of a thing. Sorry, I missed that. D, what'd you say?
I said, keep going. I'll be right back.
Okay. Right. So the thing about the thing about science, right? Just the scientific method, it's really good at telling you what something is and maybe how something works. It's really good at one of the W's and the H, but it doesn't tell you the other part of the story, right? So but it doesn't mean that it's not really good at what it's good for. And I just wanted to acknowledge something that Kat was saying about, you know, people getting vaccine, and that is what's keeping the polio down. That is, I don't disagree with that at all. And I've had this conversation with older people who had to grow up with the threat of polio, right? And when it was really fresh in their heads, and it was really offensive to them when I was telling them that I'm not going to vaccinate my kids, right? But my kids didn't get polio. There's not new cases of polio. But maybe that's because a bunch of other people are getting the vaccine. So I get that there's a diminishing returns to this whole thing, but I think it should be situational, not just have a blanket solution for something, because it could, especially when that solution could be causing other problems.
Right. No, I just think that how the whole virus came, you know, it was just too quick, and people just didn't know how to respond to it. So they did use the whole blanket of, hey, you know, do, you know, social distancing, just to prevent it from going haywire. But the problem was it was never enforced. And you can see that in certain states, especially in cities where people live like 2 feet apart from each other. So I'm not sure why people are surprised that it's come back after, like, a whole bunch of governors said, hey, you know, we're going to reopen. And in a lot of states, it wasn't even enforced. So we are still, you know, having to deal with a whole bunch of elderly people coming in. Now we have a lot of kids coming in with it. It's just nonstop. And the problem with it is we have a lot of people who are asymptomatic. So they're not showing any symptoms at all and are contagious, and they don't even know it. So just because you feel healthy and you're jumping up and down and you're like, I'm fine, that doesn't mean you don't have it. The only way to know is to get tested. And unfortunately, testing sites in the US are scarce to none.
Coming from someone who's got the test, right? I went and I got it because, you know, prevention and wanted to make sure, you know, peace of mind for my loved one. The test was fucking horrible. Like sticking a swab down up my nose it was absolutely awful. I hated my life for about 15 minutes afterwards. But you know,
right?
Whatevs. It is what it is.
Well, yeah. Well, there's two ways to test. There's the swab that goes up your nose, and then there's the one where they circulate your mouth. But the one up your nose is the one that's more effective, and it's more accurate. So that's the one that you should get. But if you do end up getting the one around the mouth, if it comes out negative, it's not as accurate just because the infection would be more up your nostrils in that area, not your mouth. But you know, again, it is horrible. It's not fun, but it's needed.
Yeah, you know, to pick up just so there seems to be some air in the conversation. I mean, I'm with you for the most part. When it comes to like an emergency situation, it's all hands on deck, and you do what you can in order to wrap your arms around the situation. Whether or not what they're doing, though, is wrapping their arm around the situation, or whether or not the situation is as dire as people are saying it is, I think is a conversation to be had. But I don't know that it should trump doing the steps that they've actually come up with.
Like what?
Like wearing a mask, like social distancing, like, you know, like quarantining. Like I don't, you know, I may not be in the same situation as other people. Like all of this stuff, it may be a lot less invasive to me than it is to other people's lives. But for me, you know, it doesn't really bend me out of shape. I don't have to bend over backwards in order to comply with what they're asking to do in order to get their arms around the situation. Wearing a mask is not a big deal to me.
Right. Yeah, but I'm gonna assume, like, do you live in like the suburbs?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, it's an urban. I live in Oakland. I live in Oakland.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, like, if you live in like a New York City and in Chicago, like, it's harder to follow those rules, especially when you're in the subway. If you don't have your own transportation, so you depend on public transportation when it comes to to using the buses and stuff like that, it is a lot harder. And I think New York recently they said, oh yeah, we're gonna clean the trains every 3 days. Like, that's insane. So it is harder to comply when you live in a clusterfuck, right? Like Chicago, New York, where everyone is so tight packed. So I get it. I live in Jersey. It's suburban, and we didn't really get hit hard here. It's more when I go up towards like Bergen, Essex County, where it's closer to New York, and you see the effect that it's had, and mostly low income areas got hit the hardest. And it's because of the kind of work that they do, where they're located, and less resources. So I do think when people talk about not complying with social distancing and all that, they're not taking into consideration the people that are hitting hard with the virus. So
Yeah, and I know this is power of the mind and all that. But you were saying about goggles. Last night's boxing broadcast, those guys were wearing full-on face masks, like the plastic covering that went over it, and as well as the mask to cover their nose and mouth. And that was like the first time I saw it. Yeah, that's the first time I saw it, and I was like, oh, okay. And then you came and said about the goggles thing. And I'm like, okay, that's what they were doing. They were protecting their eyes as well, and their entire face. Maybe that's the next step.
I know D.
A mask on top of a mask.
He was a mask on top of a mask. I know D was trying to equivocate what you were saying about the mask with a chip or something like that. And I'm glad you're back, because I wanted to ask, what exactly did you mean when you were trying to equivocate those two things?
The idea of forcing people to do anything. It's just like the vaccinations. Listen, this is the thing. See, I always talk on many different levels. When you start to basically dig into things where you can violate someone's constitutional rights at any level, then you open up a can of worms. So my correlation was to how you convince people that this group is wrong for doing it or not doing it. And this is what they're starting. It's like Jay Blues said. Jay Blues, you're going to have to go back out and come back in, because it's saying not connected. So I'll let you back in, but just back out and come back in. But anyway, Kat, it's what the media does, divide and conquer, so to speak. You start an idea where you make it a bad idea. You put a narrative out there through the media to make it a bad idea not to do something. Now, legally, we have the right. They have not made any laws or anything on it yet. So you basically have the right to leave your home and do what you decide to do. But once it's made legal, then you become an outcast. So like right now, I can walk out here anytime I want, with or without a mask. But if you get enough people excited, if you get enough people to say, yeah, I want them to wear a mask, and then you start writing laws on it, then you force it. Then it gets to the point where you start to force someone to do it. So if we start to allow this idea to creep in, and people get all scared and hysterical, once they say that they can't push that same idea about this RDF, and you may say now, well, that doesn't make sense because such and such. But again, people are gullible. People are not informed like you and I, Kat. People don't know the science of the bacteria versus the virus. They don't know all of this. The only thing they know is what they're told from these industries that they have faith in. So if that message comes out, then medically, but for some medical reason or for some safety reason, which is why I really think that they're going to push it, for safety reasons, you should get this chip. Just the idea of how they're doing this, that's exactly how they'll push that chip. And that was my correlation in this. So if we allow them to let them lead our minds and push people in the way that we're supposed to go, well, we're supposed to do this, whether they can prove it or not, that's the same way they'll push this chip on people, because it's accepted by the masses, by the majority. So the minority are the outcasts, the minority are wrong, the minority are putting people in danger by not having it.
If I could add a metaphor, the way that elephants were trained at one point was, to go, if you wanted to go right or left, you'd take a chain, right, and you'd pull it that way, and then eventually you didn't have to use a chain anymore. You could use a rope, and then you could use a string. Finally, you could just use a stick or just nudge them with your knees, because they already, because they know which way to go. But you have to start off first with the strongest method possible until you train that elephant.
Right, exactly. And fear is what our government uses, that method. They use fear as that method. That was my only correlation with it, is that it wasn't about the medical industry. It was more about the media, how the government will utilize the media to push that idea of the chip. They'll utilize it the same way they're utilizing it in this situation with the mask. whether it's validated or not, that's still the corruptions of the world that we deal with. That's the world we live in. That they will utilize the fear of people dying or attracting a virus to push their agendas. Well, they'll utilize that same fear when it comes to this RDF chip. And if we fall victim to it now without putting up any questions, just saying, okay, let's do what they tell us to do. Without putting up any questions, without picking up reading anything, without, involving our own ideas in this. If we do that, then we're just allowing them to push us later down the line with that same idea, with this same technique, It's sad, but it's so, and it's tough to think about because with the mask and the idea, this is something that can save lives, and we're in a pandemic. But do you think that they care about lives or anything of that nature? No. The only thing is to get your agenda across, regardless of by what means they do it. That's just the reality of it. I mean, so that was my idea on it. And again, that's not to push anybody away from the mask or anything. That's just to push people to say that as a human, we're one race here. Ain't no black, we're one race. Human. That's what race I am, human. And as a human, you have to use the most powerful thing that the divine has given to you. And it was not the government, Western medicine, or anything else. The most powerful tool that each individual human have is this right here. And we cannot allow this to be clouded at any level. The power of the mind is exponential power, more powerful than any government, any pill, any surgery. The power of the mind is more powerful than any of that. We can't allow that to be clouded by the media, the medical industry, the government, or people like me or anything else. You have to use your own mind.
I'm gonna stop you for like 2 seconds. Is that your mic that's making that one, or
I don't think it's my mic. It's somebody else's.
Yeah, it's not my mic either. It's been like that throughout the entire show.
It's your mic, Cat. No, it's all good. It's yours. But if your mic is off and somebody else talking, it does that. But if you're talking, it don't do that. Yeah, that's it. If you talking, it don't make that noise. So just do this, Cat. When you're ready to talk, just come off of mute. And then when somebody else talking, just go on mute. But that's all. It's all good. But I just wanted to kind of share to you my mindset, Cat, where I was coming from. And these power of the mind episodes are always going to revert back to the mind, to our mind, the power that we all possess individually. Smoke asked a very, very good question earlier. What can we do as individuals, right? Well, again, it starts with the mind. That's why I said, and if you change your mindset and you change 100 people's mindset around you, and each one of those individuals change 100 people's mindset around them and so forth, then we actually get things done. But if we all sit around and complain and we don't educate ourselves first and foremost, we don't free our own minds, then we're not going to help anybody else. You have to, self-awareness, guys. If you're not in the right place, then you can't possibly help anyone else because you can't help yourself. People are so willing to allow others to lead them instead of trying to find a way to lead themselves. And it starts with opening up your mind. Kat knows a lot of what she knows because she's in the medical industry. She had to learn that, right? She had to program her mind to learn that. Well, I ain't just blabbering off at the mouth. I do a whole hell of a lot of reading about a whole hell of a lot of things. And I always encourage people, if you hear me saying something incorrect, correct me. I don't know everything, and I'm not afraid to be corrected. Kat got up here and corrected me on a couple of things. Smoke corrects me on things all the time. And if I'm incorrect, I'm incorrect, but I won't spread that dumb shit again. Now, if I sit up here and I say something that you don't agree with, but it's valid and I'm correct, then that's just my way of thinking. And you have to accept that because I accept the way that you're thinking. But I come with a lot of this because of educating myself on holistic healing, educating myself on natural herbs, spices, greenery, grains, things that we can ingest to change what's going on with us. Just like Kat said, a lot of the things that we consume in this country, because of the chemicals in them, causes these other issues. And they have to be treated with these pharmaceuticals because regardless of what anyone wants to believe, the chemicals that's being put in the food, the pharmaceuticals are being designed for down the line when these problems come about, you're going to need those pharmaceuticals. And she's correct. If you don't take those pharmaceuticals that react to the chemicals that they've put inside of your body, then you're going to have complications that could ultimately lead to death. That's a fact. She's not lying about that. But
yeah, I'm slowly drifting away from eating meat, man.
Right. But if you adapt to lifestyles as myself, I don't eat meat. I don't eat processed foods. I don't eat a lot of these things that contain these chemicals that will require you to have to utilize these pharmaceuticals. I don't do that. There are people who have been diagnosed with diabetes, cancers, and such, and they've been taking all different types of pharmaceuticals, many different pills. This is not something that I'm making up. Do your research. So they simply do this. They change their diets. And I mean an extreme overhaul. They stop eating certain foods, processed foods, meats, and so forth. And lo and behold, not even a full year later, they don't need 90% of those pharmaceuticals to survive that they once needed before. Now, you cannot tell me that I'm incorrect with the natural and holistic healing. But there's a lot of research that has to be done. It's just like a heroin addict, okay? And you guys understand when I say what I say when I say this. Well, a heroin addict will put that opiate in his system over and over and over again. So what happens is that man's body or that woman's body gets to the point where they have to have that for their body to function properly. And if you remove that cold turkey, it could actually cause their body to shut down completely. Well, it's the same thing in these processed foods and this nonsense that we're being fed in this country. If we continue to eat that stuff, we'll be just like the heroin addict. But our heroin is those pharmaceuticals later down the line. Without those pharmaceuticals, we will die. Without that heroin, that person will die. Well, the heroin is the foods, the McDonald's guys. I'm being serious. That's the heroin, the McDonald's, the meats, the processed foods.
Yeah, they slay old chickens for that. Like, have you seen Super Size Me, the movie?
Yeah, I've seen that.
That will tell you everything. That will tell you everything about all of the fast food industry. Like all the fries, all those freaking chicken nuggets and stuff like that. It's not exactly from what you think it's coming from.
If it's obviously it's not meant for us to eat. That's the main thing. You know, yeah. It's not meant. Our teeth are not serrated. Okay, our teeth are rounded for a reason, guys. We have to understand this. Teeth that are serrated, you know what they call canines, or those are teeth
I got canines.
Break bones and carve through meat, and those are teeth meant for meat eating. Teeth like this, that's meant for herbs, vegetables, greenery. You can break down shrubs with teeth like that. You can't break through bones. These teeth are not meant to break through bones. You'll chip the tooth. So naturally, humans weren't meant to be eating no goddamn meat, which is why you have to cook it, soft it, and tenderize it, because it wasn't meant for us. But I'll tell you what definitely wasn't meant for us. Meats with chemicals in them. That definitely was not meant for us. But that's what we're consuming on a daily basis anytime you go to a fast food restaurant, and most of the time you go to most grocery stores. That's what you're consuming. And to combat those chemicals, you have to have the pharmaceuticals. So I can't deny what Kat says, and I never would try to. But if you change your diet, then you don't have to rely on those things. And I don't think that Kat would sit up here and try to deny that, because she's already told us that because of this society, because of the things we consume, she's absolutely right. I'll give you guys another example. If you go to, I was just watching this, and the other night I was listening to a doctor talk about this. So if you go to certain countries outside of America and you start buying from the markets and stuff like that, the meats and stuff, you may get sick because the meats there, initially you may get sick. Eventually your body will learn to adapt to the foods, the bacterias and stuff coming off of those foods, because those foods are not treated the way the foods are treated in this country. So you'll get sick just by merely eating those foods until your body can build up resistance to those things. So what she's saying is 100% true. And I wouldn't sit up here and try to deny that or push anybody away from that, because those are facts.
If I can just piggyback on what you were saying about teeth and canine and meat,
Right.
I'm not going to go too deep into that part of it, but just as sort of a general statement, the amount of times you chew your food is also very helpful. Like, a lot of people don't chew their food enough.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a fact. That's a big fact. People eat too fast, which is another reason the fast food industries are terrible. People and they swallow it. Why? Because they're in a rush. That's why it's called fast food. You're getting it while you're going from work to lunch, and you got to scarf that shit down. The more you chew your food and swallow it, the easier it is for your intestines and your stomach acids to break that stuff down and distribute it to your body. Therefore, you can
Especially
get
the vitamins,
nutrients and minerals and such that you need out of that food. But when you don't break it down here and you send that down your esophagus, not broken down the way it's supposed to, then it's not broken down correctly on the inside, which is a reason, which Kat could back me up on this too. There's a certain amount of undigested red meat that you never get rid of if you continue to eat red meat your whole life. You know why? Because you're consuming it quicker than your body's able to break it down. Don't take my word for it. Go look it up.
yeah, it lives in your system.
That is
for
actually
months.
correct.
See? So, I mean, guys, I don't sit up here and blabber on and tell people shit that, could be of danger to them. I just decide to live a certain lifestyle. It's a reason I don't eat red meat. That's just one of the reasons I just mentioned. That's just one of the reasons. But if you could eliminate that, wouldn't it be wise to do that?
What people don't understand is when how the U.S. has built fast food, how the market has worked is for money. It has nothing to do with health. Now, as far as what you eat, we've been pushed down our throats. You have to eat breakfast. You have to eat a snack. You have to eat lunch. You have to eat a snack. You have to eat dinner, and you have to eat a snack. That is not true. You don't have to eat 3 meals a day, and in most cases, obesity happens because you're eating so damn much. A lot of people don't eat past 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's okay. And a lot of people do fasting. I do intermittent fasting all the time because it's not required for you to eat 24/7, and that is a fact. But unfortunately, the FDA and foods and all these people will say you have to eat, like, your biggest meal has to be breakfast, and you have to eat 4 pancakes and a whole bunch of scrambled eggs and yada, 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 yada. And you have to understand that not everyone is the same. So what keeps D up in the morning, might put me to sleep, or, what benefits me, might hurt him. So it's all dependent on the individual. And that's why it's good for you to know your own body versus people telling you what you should do with your body. So, take that as you will.
Right. And so I want y'all to check this out right here. I'm going to put it up on the screen. This is a guy that I follow his work. Hold on. I'm going to put this up on the screen for y'all. This is a guy here. I follow his work. He eats 1 meal a day. He does not consume any types of meats, no land animals, or any byproducts of them, right? He only eats once a day. Okay? Hold on, I'm gonna put this up on the screen. So it's an absolute myth. It really is an absolute myth of, okay, can y'all see that? Did it come up? Can everybody see that? All right, there. Can everybody see that? All right. This guy eats once a day. Look at the way he's built. He eats one meal a day. So all of this, you have to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner to have a successful life and get all your vitamins. Does this motherfucker look like he's lacking any vitamins, minerals, or nutrients? And he doesn't eat the beef because remember, they say you have to have beef and milk for strong bones and muscles. Does this guy look like he doesn't have strong bones and muscles? And he does not consume cow's milk or any red meat. Because couscous has couscous in Malay has high counts of protein. Here's something that's interesting, guys. One of the strongest animals, herbivores, are gorillas. Pound for pound, one of the strongest animals in existence. And they live off of berries and fruits and grains and vegetation. That's what they live off of. And they could rip your arms and legs right out of your sockets if they wanted to. That's how strong they are. They don't eat meats.
Yeah, they eat like a trash bag size of like vegetables, well, like plants and stuff, I should say.
Right, and pound for pound, got the strongest muscles you can think of. And like I said, look at this doctor. This guy's a doctor too. He's a medical doctor in the Western medicine. And he decides not to eat meats and stuff. If you read a lot of his articles, he tells you how these meats, these canned foods and these processed foods are tearing your body up. And if his body's looking like this, would you not say he has some validity in what he's talking about? I mean, he says that you don't have to have 3 meals a day. And he's a doctor. He's a doctor that a lot of you guys rely on. This man is a medical doctor. Look at him and tell me the thing that I talk about is not correct, please. Because this is the information that I get to arrive at the things that I tell people. I don't tell people things that will put them in danger. That's irresponsible and that's stupid. That's what I think about anybody who does anything like that. If you're telling people something that will put them in danger, that's totally irresponsible and that's stupid. And that is not what I do up here. I don't want to put anybody in danger. I hope everybody could be healthy and flourish and live a great life like we're supposed to. That's what I really want to do. So guys, anybody have he's taking roids? Do you give me? No, he's not taking steroids, bro. Go read on him, chap. He's actually not taking any steroids. This guy, it's his lifestyle, chap. It's another guy too that I follow. He's black and he's built just like him. He's an African American man and he's built just like this guy. He's 54 years old, built just like that, and he doesn't consume meat or anything either, Chap Ross.
If I could just share, like I was actually raised on 1 meal a day and vegetarian. I didn't have my first taste of meat until I was 23 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in school, man, like I remember I used to skip lunch all the time. Like I used to not eat throughout the entire day until like after school, like 4 o'clock and stuff. I wouldn't even eat breakfast or anything like that.
That's just like
Cat. I still felt healthy.
Cat just broke it down. It was an excellent breakdown. With the fast food industries, it's money, bro. It's about money. Spend more money. They don't give a damn about your health. They know that food is tearing people up. The reason this is the biggest country in the world, bro. Big meaning by obesity. And, back in the 80s, people that were like fat, y'all know what we call fat now. They were anomalies. People would stare and look at them, but they were just fat people. Now they're almost normal in this country. just people that's fat, chunky, chubby, whatever you want to call them. They're normal. They're a normality.
Yeah, now they're able to like to be flexible and stuff.
Right. Obesity now is the new fat. Like obesity.
Pink sludge, pink slime, you know, yellow dye, red dye, like that's not even food, right? It's just stuff. They're just
Yellow
stuff.
number 5,
Right.
you know, red number 3, all of that bullshit. No. And a lot of those things are tearing us up, bro. They tearing us up. I don't need my apple to be extra red for it to give me what I need. I just need it to be an apple. I don't need my apple to be covered in a thin wax covering so it can look pretty on the shelf. I just need an apple. Well, the fucking fruits that you buy out of the grocery stores have exactly that. They have red coloring and wax so that they appear fresh and good for a while.
Starch, basically.
You're eating that. Because they don't remove the wax before you eat it. And it's not really a way for you to remove it before you eat it unless you peel the apple. But guess what? Most of the nutrients are in the peeling. Do you guys know this shit? So, I mean, that's just the brass tacks of it. That's just the brass tacks of it. I was listening to Louis Farrakhan, and I do not advocate for Louis Farrakhan, and I don't agree with 90% of the shit that this man says. But he was breaking down the food industry in this country, and if you guys ever have a chance to go listen to Louis Farrakhan break that down, go pull a video up and listen to him break down the foods in this country. And you might not like Farrakhan, but a lot of the shit he said in that was 100% correct. Go watch it if you guys have the time. Go watch it. Just pull up Louis Farrakhan talking about the foods in America, and you'll drop your fucking jaw if you determine to. It's valid. It's a lot of validity in what he says. But Farrakhan says these things to incite anger. Although it's true, he utilizes things like this to incite anger. And that's why I don't really subscribe to the guy, because I don't say the things that I say to incite any type of anger. I say the things that I say so people can be safe. Because I love all of you. And I'm not just saying that. I mean that. I love each and every one of you guys. And hope that all of you flourish and have great lives. And we can kick it and talk here every day. I don't want to see any harm come to any of you guys. I don't want to lead you into a war. That's what Farrakhan want to lead a lot of people into, a war. That's not saving or helping the situation. That's exciting war. That's why I don't follow Louis Farrakhan, because he's exciting war. He utilizes truth to incite war. So anyway, Texan, give me some closing thoughts, fam.
Well, man, like this whole dieting thing, it's very important, you know, like stuff that's in the industry that you perceive as healthy, because like some people saying that it is, it's not really. But like you have to take into consider it. You have to take your own judgment on like what you think is going to be beneficial for your own body. Like if you wake up all of a sudden and you don't feel hungry, then you don't have to eat, you know. And if you still feel good at the end of the day, that means that you still feel good. Yeah, you would have to still eat something, but like doesn't have to be like 5 times a day, 3 times a day, like y'all were saying on the panel. And just basically like try to edit your dieting, you know what I mean? Like me, over the years, like I used to eat like not fast food, like I haven't ate at a fast food place like McDonald's or anything like that since I was a kid. But over the years, I started like monitoring like the food industry overall. Like I'm just like going to local supermarkets now. I don't even go to like H-E-B or Walmart as much anymore because of like the amount of starch that they put on fruits and stuff like that. I noticed that like when I used to buy like a bag of chicken and stuff like that, and like when I would like boil it, all of a sudden I see blood in it, and I'm like, nah, you know what? I'm just gonna skip this, man. You know. Yeah. And I've heard a lot of stuff like if blood gets like into something, man, that's like cross contamination and stuff like that. So like that's why I'm like kind of cutting away from meat overall. And as for like the fruits and stuff like that, like bananas and everything, like I've noticed that they're very green, like as soon as like you get them from HB, Walmart, and all of them. So, but if I go like to my local supermarket, they're not like the starch is not as heavy as it is like in those stores. So yeah, just like be aware of like a lot of stuff like that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate your message, and you know you're welcome anytime, fam.
Yeah, it's a great show, man. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks. Kat, I appreciate you for sure coming up because you educated the people on a lot, and I think that that's important. Your contribution to this from the medical side of it is because I can't effectively give how you say a perspective from the medical industry because I don't know enough about it and I don't subscribe to it. So your contribution to today's discussion was definitely important because you're educated in the Western medicine and you can give a better perspective than I'm able to. So I appreciate you coming up today and would like for you to give some closing thoughts on this whole situation.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. And I always watch. I've been watching you for some time. And I appreciate what you do. And you know, at the end of the day, I think we should just understand that safety is paramount in these times, regardless of how you feel. Remember, it's not just you. There are there's millions of us in the U.S. alone. And I do understand that dialogue is the key, but also don't just speak to be heard, but also listen and comprehend. I think that's something that we're all missing. It's one thing to yell and say, well, my point is X, Y, and Z, but it's another thing to sit there and try to listen to someone else and understand where they're coming from as well. So
facts, all facts. Well, I appreciate you, Kat. First time up, but don't let it be the last time. You're welcome anytime.
All right, fam. Thank you.
All right. So, guys, my closing thoughts on today's topic is this. Let me put this back up here. It's really simple. We got sports coming. We have a lot of things coming back to us, not just sports, just the ability to get out of the house and move around. But keep in mind, guys, that there is still a world crisis going on, whether it be sports that you're excited about coming back to us, whether it be the fact that you're excited that you could go back out to work now again and earn money to support your family. Keep in mind that we are still involved in a world crisis. This is definitely a world crisis. This is not the time to ease up like everything is back to normal because the facts are, guys, that it's going to be a long time or never before we return back to what we consider completely normal. And we must keep in mind the things that's going on around us. I don't want anyone to dismiss any ideas. With a mask, without a mask, educate yourselves. Cure yourselves from ignorance. And don't take ignorance as being anything negative. Ignorance simply means lack of knowledge of. And if you don't have that knowledge, educate yourself because freedom of ignorance gives you all the power you need because you're feeding the mind. Remember, the mind, everything starts in the mind. And that's my message for today. That's my message for what we have to deal with. And guys, every time, that we end this show, I would like to end the show with this. I'm going to do this from now on, here on out. I think that this is an important message. So when we run Power of the Mind, this is going to be my message to all of you guys from here out. All right. Okay, so remember that we will only move forward when we learn to think forward. We must devise a plan to get us where we truly desire to be. We must focus and give energy to the future and how we've planned it. When we focus on how things are now and how things were, we remain the same. Everybody, enjoyed y'all coming out. Peace.